able to pop those white stacks. So definitely something to look out for there. Build that's not always as common on Varus, but it does a surprising amount of damage. Just a big key is making sure that you proc those white stacks. That's where your AP scaling is going to go, is we're likely to expect the Nashers to come out next.
Yeah, the AP Varus is one of those that you sometimes see in like those TikTok compilations of like funny moments of like one-shotting a Malphite or something like that. But actually is very strong if you just... All you got to do is press the R button. That automatically stacks up those blight stacks. And you land an empowered Q on top of him. And that could be a big chunk of a health bar gone, even from somebody like Doinby, who I think maybe was expecting the non-hit AD variant of the Varus, because he went straight for a Sunfire, which is not normally the build that you go here on a Galio.
Yeah, of course, you know, being in the quirky, looking at this one, I think it's the right call from Doinby, but also a good call from Starry to change things up a bit. So, like game cat mouse seeing there, but unfortunately for OMG, still very far behind thanks to the first couple plays we saw from NIP, and they don't want to slow down Aki.
Wow, yeah, here comes that Vi Galio once again, knocking up Linfunk. He's underneath between his two turrets, and it doesn't matter. He's still going to go down. Makes it the 5th kill in a row for NIP, as they are really taking advantage of the strength that they possess here in the mid game.
That was chained up really nicely. Linfeng opting to save his flash, and the way that NIP chained that, really no opportunity for Linfeng to get out once that first Justice Punch hit away from NIP, as they're able to clean up and avoid the dive of the bot lane. Props to PP God, who did base to threaten any potential dive that might come down from OMG. So we're seeing some good map play from NIP. I mean, even going back to that Dragon play, I know we talked about how Doinby could have TP'd mid to get that wave, then walk bot. But by TPing directly bot, allowed for the Jhin to walk mid and then leave, ended up being a big part of that skirmish as well. So really like how NIP is playing the map. Feels like they're doing a nice job of just playing more waves than OMG at all times.
And, you know, maybe it's you know, I don't want to say glazing here, but, you know, is that the Doinby effect too anyway, right? Where he's somebody who's able to micromanage his teammates a little bit, allow for everybody to be in the right positions at the right time. And again, regular season is where he has shined, especially here in 2025. So looks like we're seeing a little bit of that magic yet again.
Maybe he just has the whole team, you know, putting their face in a full thing of water 3 times a day. Maybe just really wakes them up for game 1 of the day. Make sure they're ready to go. It's late or early in the morning here on the East Coast, depending on how you say it. I was considering it. Dude, you could have matched the timestamp before the broadcast started.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't have worked because I stayed up all night instead of like waking up early. But
and we definitely can't afford the brand of water. That's for sure.
Definitely not. Hey, volunteer broadcast. You can support us here on Coffee if you if you want to as well. Link in the chat here. But 4,000 gold lead over to NIP as the 3rd dragon is going to spawn. It looks like they're going to opt instead towards picking up this Rift Herald up towards the top side, while Hog and OMG will get themselves that dragon most likely. I mean, the thing is here for OMG, though, still a late game focused top position for them, but they need to hold the line for quite a while at this point. But getting a Drake like this is certainly fun.
Yeah, it feels like a consolation prize, though. I like the Rift take this game from NIP. It's not just the fact they have 5 grubs. I just think the Rift really goes up in value. As like when you have a matchup like Galio versus Corki, it's really tough to break mid-outer. And one of the few things that can help you do that is actually Rift Herald at this point of the game. So I like the fact that NIP took they were the stronger team right now. That's a conscious choice to take that over just a Chemtech Dragon. I feel like that's the right one in this game.
So it looks like NIP not going to be playing for any Dragon Souls at the very least, which at least gives OMG like one less objective that they're going to have to fight over like earlier in the game. So that's at least a small win in their book. Actually also seeing a Hearthbound Axe picked up for Starry as we're taking a look at the Varus build. Looks like that might turn into something like a Wit's End or even a Kraken Slayer, depending on where we
go. What is going on down there? I was prepping for the Nashers, man. They have no magic damage. Actually, I thought it was coming. Yeah.
Let's see. If it does turn into a Wits, I mean, that is some magic damage as well, but you'd get that anyway with like kind of the on-hit build that you're going to be going. We'll continue to process this as the items go down, but might be a while because right now it's been all NIP. They're really controlling the map, really making it difficult for the carries on OMG to pick up any gold or any resources as they send the Rift Herald now in the mid lane to try to break open the steal.
Again, I really like this from NIP as they're going to get close to taking down the turret. again, you're playing Galio and Corki. It's really tough to crack mid-outer, and that turret, cracking that when you have a comp like Vi, Galio, Alistar, you want to dogpile in. That does give you more space to operate and try and pull off the combo to start off the fight. So you can see NIP going to continue their siege. Meanwhile, OMG sending Linfeng to keep on hitting Joinby in the side lanes and do the best they can as this Corki getting close to the Miramona. And you can see Linfeng's been doing a nice job of getting his farm as the highest CS in the game and might actually be looking to dive for Joinby on Starry. OMG posturing towards the bot side. Yeah.
Down towards that dive, and now it gives another opportunity for NIP to try to reset here, send somebody down here to try to prevent this from happening. You see PP God and Leave making their way down. A teleport comes in as well. Looks like dive averted. And OMG still without a kill, even though it seems like they've had opportunities to go for plays, but seem a little bit hesitant to go for them.
Yeah, I mean, Galio is scary to dive, and Joinby TP'd back to have full health. He kind of sniffed that one coming. Also, going to be the GAs.
Yep.
Kind of a little bit slow here, but still, I gotta say with NIP, this is where Baron spawns 5 minutes later. You have Otacon, it's still really strong point of the game for NIP with their draft, but we feel like they have to keep this game moving and make sure they stay on schedule because the scaling of a Varus Corki can be scary.
Well, dive onto Moham could definitely help that as another Hero's entrance comes through. That is Moham going down before he can even proc the bailout. Just so much crowd control locked onto that Renata Glass, meaning it's the 4v5 on the rest of the map for 25 seconds. Either Otacon could be a priority or just stealing away some camps, getting control of the enemy jungle.
And you know what? All three winning plays for NIP, it's come off of this Vi Galio combo. It's not complicated, but they have been executing it. They've been chaining their CC, which is like really, you know, the point of skill expression that is real with this combo. I think they've been doing a really nice job of it between Aki and Joinby, and that pick going to secure them mid-outer and a lot of control over the bot outer as well as NIP push their gold lead to almost 4.5K. And OMG, there's no way they can think about starting this Otacon. I feel like NIP has to wait. Otacon still does a lot of damage at this point of the game, so it shouldn't be an option. But OMG, it'd be really scary for them to even think about pulling this thing, and all focus is going to be down on this bot side with the dragon spawning here too.
It's another instance of Hung being down here, but probably not going to want to go for this dive as PP God and Aki are here. We also got our answer, by the way, on that second item. It's going to be a Terminus picked up. So a little bit extra defensiveness as well as, you know, that on hit, obviously. And gives you some magic pen as well, so a little bit of that magic pen.
I will say, was doing some side monitor homework on potential builds with Varus. Riftmaker was built second by Pays in a recent game. I know that's a common appearance in the AP Varus build. So again, still going to keep our eyes out to see if we have a Nashor's Tooth or a Riftmaker make an appearance in the inventory of Starry, as of course magic damage a bit lacking on OMG's side. And Varus, someone with the Blight Stacks that can supply a surprising amount of it.
Yeah, there's so much base damage, so much scaling in both AD and AP. Like, you can almost ultimate bravery on this guy, and it will work most of the time. As we see now this dragon being started up by NIP. Hung trying to prove a stop to it as it actually gets sent back out at 4,000 HP with Aki over the pit. Poke coming out here nicely from OMG. See if they want to fully commit. It looks like PP God going to be the one to start it. A three-man pull onto OMG. The hero's entrance going to force Linfeng to flash away, but no, so far no kills locked down just yet. And Shanji's very low, and that's a shutdown picked up towards Starry. Linfeng gets taunted up, but won't have enough damage followed up by NIP. Now Leave could suddenly be in a precarious spot. Hung flashes in onto PP God, who no longer has his ultimate, and it will be just one kill going over towards OMG, but they could be looking for more. Teleport comes in. Going to be Linfeng rejoining the party at full HP. He does a lot of damage under his belt. PP God does not go down just yet, and Leave actually takes down Moham. But here comes the Valk. Can Linfeng do it? Can he do enough in this fight? He gets shut down as Aki just dies right on top of him. Leave is still alive. He flashes underneath his own turret. This is a double kill already for the Jin. Harry! Harry will fall. It's a triple kill for Leave as he saves the fight for an IP.
OMG were though they flipped it, they get punished. Linfeng is focused directly, and that was a play that looked okay. They won the initial skirmish, up 1. They absorbed the Vi Gallia ult really well. That was the first time that we haven't really seen the Heroes entrance completely synced up with Aki. But at the end, it just doesn't matter because the re-engage from Aki, it immediately found Linfeng, and Boam kind of threw his life away early. So no bailout available for Linfeng or anyone else on OMG. NIP win the fight. Going to take this out of Khan, get the GA buffs, and continue the cruise in this game.
And I feel like that was the breaking point in this game.
Yeah.
That was where NIP maybe had a little bit of an opening there for OMG to take advantage of. I mean, gave away a kill early. A teleport came in from Linfeng.
It was a good start.
At those 2 items, I mean, it looked good, but it was the playmaking from Aki to keep his AD carry alive and leave really going off towards the back end of this game.
I mean, this from PB God is great, but the Hero's entrance is just that hair late. So the hostile takeover gets in, buys a lot of space, and this ult from Harry was fantastic. Found Shanji, really re-established the lines for OMG in this fight. Linfeng forces out Doinbi. He's going to base and TP back, but really, like this re-engage from Hong and Harry, not warranted. They take a lot of chip damage from Leave, which is going to hurt them in the second re-engage. And then, like, Moham just kind of throws his life away, and no one's really able to protect Linfeng.
Just underestimates the damage from Leave. Maybe even didn't see him on the map.
Linfeng W again there doesn't help either. So he's not fully guilty in that. Yeah.
I mean, I was surprised that Hong, like, flashed onto, like, the tank instead of going towards Leave, potentially.
Yep.
Some unfortunate shenanigans there from Harry at the very end of things, and that leaves very good game state here for NIP as they start this Baron up with the GAs in hand.
For sure, a bit of a bummer to see Linfeng TP in and then Velk into a TP God combo like that. Anyway, Baron almost being taken. Hong.
Looks like Hong going to try to get in there and got to 48 HP. Almost a steal for the OMG jungler. But Aki just has those diamond hands. He held strong, and he smites away that Baron Nashor. Here comes Doinbi, lands a 3-man taunt. Starry has the stopwatch and will go golden, but he suddenly finds himself in the midst of 4 members of Ninjas in Pajamas. It's another 4 kills picked up for them as they are looking to close this game out sooner rather than later, Cubby.
I just went straight to Baron after the reset, after Chemtech. And again, OMG, they're behind. They can't fight. That angle from Doinbi on the back half to find the Hero's entrance and that angle to wrap up the fight. Pretty resounding win from NIP.
Some opportunities maybe for OMG to take advantage of, but they just fell short every single time. NIP playing the margins and winning outright. They get that mid lane inhibitor with that Baron buff. Should be able to turn their attention towards the top side. Not an end angle just yet as the death timers are still very low, but you have to feel like OMG already starting to go back to the drawing board here for game 2 as now Moham gets taunted up here by Doinbi. Shanji throws out the first part of the ultimate. It's going to be up in 3 seconds. Can the poke from OMG be enough? Aki dashes back in, not able to find a target. Call going to be forcing OMG back as they will claim that second inhibitor in the top lane.
That's probably it for NIP. They're just going to reset and go find the rest. And yeah, I mean, going back through the pace of this game, early on, we had both Linfeng and Harry got flashes out of their opposing solo laners. That's a pretty good start. But again, I think the big difference just the map rotations, and then really Aki versus Hong for me was the big difference in this one. Aki just had a fantastic game. Ends up winning the smite fight. Hong actually did a really nice job actually just getting into the pit to give himself a chance. Was quite close, but not able to get it. And then the back half, Doinbi, great Hero's entrance, great angle in to really make sure that OMG had no chance to play the back half of this fight.
And we missed the start of that, but Shanji just one-shot Linfeng with the third proc of that needlework before she was able to do anything. So that was your star mid laner that is going to have to do some work against NIP if OMG wanted to have a chance here in this game. Just hadn't really bounced in. The ball hasn't bounced on in their favor as they're now with the Baron buff for another 40 seconds looking to crack open the final of these inner turrets and potentially inhibitor turrets as well, with the teleport coming in from Doinbi to make it 4 members on this bottom side.
Yeah, unfortunately for Linfeng, again, this matchup, you are able to farm up and scale, but caught out by the Vi Gallia once in the side lane, and then I think played the last 2 fights pretty poorly. The Valk into the combo from Alistar is kind of a death sentence there for OMG in that last fight. Now getting caught as we have the engage. PP God.
Looks like Harry's going to be the primary target. Again, the ultimate doesn't connect, so Leave will be able to pick up yet another kill for himself. Shanji dashing forward very aggressively, knowing that it's very hard to take down a level 16 Gwen who has that ultimate and the flash. Starry already plans a flash underneath his own Nexus turret, but Shanji. It won't be him living for long. Linfeng picks up 1, but they're underneath the Nexus turrets right now. Doinbi goes golden as well. It's like right now, thought NIP might be playing with their food a little bit. Hung dashing in to try to pick up something, but the rest of his team is headed right back to the fountain where they will remain for the end of this game. Ninjas in Pajamas, a dominant start here for Group C, and they will run away with this one in 29 minutes.
That's what you wanted to see out of Ninjas in Pajamas, again, playing with direction. We set this one up saying that Doinby teams, they always seem to have this level of cohesion and playmaking that Doinby just brings to any roster that he plays with. And NFI Galio has played really, really well as they were able to find a really big fight around early grubs, and they turned that into a lot on the map, Grapes.
And I want to give a shout out to the top side for Ninjas in Pajamas as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Doinby obviously facilitating, but it was Aki on the Vi, as you mentioned, and then Shanji having actually a very solid game on that Gwen. He survived a little bit of that early game pressure and was able to take full advantage of that late game power of the Gwen, right? And so against their former team, it was Aki and Shanji taking that first one. And so they go up to 1-0 in the group. Again, a result that we potentially expected coming in, but in these best of one formats, one little thing goes wrong and all of a sudden you could be in a pretty bad situation. So good job for NIP by starting things off on the right foot.
Yeah, no, for me with NIP, of course we always talk so much about Doinby and that direction. I think that the way that he plays the map and hovers is always really strong, but good to see, like if you're an NIP fan, I think really nice to see some good moments there from PP God on the Alistar, and also Aki for me was the MVP of that map. Really played well in that first game. I feel like just that first play where, Sejuani is trying to respond by taking the bot side after Grubs, goes in, defends with Doinby, pushes Sej out, and then immediately finds a winning kill for Gwen, like flips that matchup on its head. And then what we saw the rest of the game from Aki, just that direction playing with Doinby was really, really sound. So good to see from Aki and PP God actually doing some good work together and showing some good moments there if you're an NIP fan.
And you might say like, oh, it's just the noob stomp, press R on all your champions buttons and your team comp works. But knowing when to find those engages and when to look for fights like that takes a little bit of decision making that has to be praised here for NIP. You mentioned that they were down a little bit at the start of the game, but as soon as they found the angles that they wanted, they were able to pounce on it, take advantage of it, and they found wins in every single one of the engages that they went for. As for OMG, definitely back to the drawing board a little bit. This was a team that excited a lot of us going into at the end of Split 1. After that, they took 2 series all the way to 5 games. They proved to be competitive against a lot of the teams in the LPL, but not this time against NIP.
Yeah, a bit of a roughie there on the flip side from Hong and Moham. I still feel like with Moham, when he's not able to engage, just doesn't feel like the same player. Again, this is a player that for me, I know that a lot of people tend to focus on the lows we've seen from Moham early in his career, given that those happened on a big stage, but he also found himself in that position with D+ for a reason. We have seen some high highs, especially when he's on engagers. I mean, his rel should be feared in the league, truly. But yeah, again, that really felt like he didn't have an impact on the Renata that game. It just found himself in some really poor positions and really didn't do much. So bit of a bummer. Definitely some signs of growth that we're still looking for from OMG that they can hopefully hit throughout the rest of the day today.
And still more opportunities to pick up wins. Obviously, the matchup against Top on the horizon for them as well. But actually, first up for them after they get 1 game off is the matchup against FPX, which will be the 3rd game of the day. As we go through some of the highlights here, that's the thing about these group stages, Cubby, where you play the full round robin in one day. You gotta fully reset, especially after getting stomped the way that they did.
And again, keep in mind OMG, they're a pool 3 team. We expect them to get out, and either 3rd or 4th. Probably 3rd is where most of us had them. So it is important that they're able to at least put up more of a contest against Top Esports and FPX later on in the day, but we'll see.
We'll go through a couple of these highlights as well. I mean, I feel like everybody really on Ninjas in Pajamas played really well. And again, you could say it's because of the leadership of somebody like Doinby, but I think that's discrediting some of the solid performances we saw across the rest of the board. Now, this was the one opportunity in the game where we thought OMG might have had a bit of a chance, but just the slightest bit of outplays, I think, from Aki and Leave specifically at in the back half of this.
I mean, that was a nice high-style takeover from Moham and a really good ult from Harry to really reestablish the lines of that fight. But then Linfeng, after the TP back in, pretty unwarranted Valkyrie into PB God, who does do a nice job of at least playing on the edge of this fight. And yeah, I mean, finds his opportunity right there when Linfeng uses W to try and clean up PB God. PB God gets the combo off, and trading himself for Corki at that point of the fight is well worth it.
Yeah, I mean, just really nicely played by PP God to cancel, some of that engaging here from Linfeng as well. Pop in that headbutt pull as soon as the Valkyrie went forward. But yeah, I mean, that seemed like the fight that OMG could have maybe done something with, and maybe that's where their scaling started to take over. But then it's the classic: get the Otacon, get the Baron, and then eventually win the game.
Yeah, they snowballed it pretty quickly. So props to NIP. The way they put this map away and some of the stuff that we're seeing from them on the map. Did really like some of those rotations to play around the grubs. I think it really opened up that opportunity around that dragon that OMG was trying to take. I believe it was the second dragon that ended up being contested at NIP flip. That was really where NIP got off to the races. And some of the fundamentals that we have seen them and Donby teams do so well really paid off in that map against OMG.
Wait, our player of the game graphic as well. I feel like, again, we go towards anybody here because of how dominant, how clean that game was played by NIP. Taking a look at what they have next up, they get a little bit of an extended break. And then I think the most exciting, most anticipated matchup of the day will come in game number 4 when they go up against Top Esports. That'll be an exciting one that we will continue to preview throughout the beginning of the day. It's Leave coming away with the player of the game for this one. Definitely justified, had some really nice plays, especially around that dragon fight, picking up that triple kill that eventually really turned the game around.
Leaf had a nice one. Shout out to the Celerity and Gathering Storm, the Blue Tree Enjoyer. Very good on Jin. Get some bonus mileage out of that, given his kit. But yeah, I thought Leaf had a good one. For me, Aki was really the one that dictated and ran the map, but we did have some nice moments from Leave, and I was pretty accurate with those snipes as well. So shout out to Leave. And we got question mark pings by Graves. What's that for?
We'll get some explanation. Okay.
Producer Kai has some explaining to do.
He said it was a mistake. So okay, well.
Yeah, I mean he's getting pretty liberal. He's getting pretty liberal with those question mark pings. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for our coverage of the first game of the day. However, we're going to take a short break and come right back as we introduce our next 2 teams from Group C. Stay tuned for FPX versus Top Esports after this. Oh, hold on. Before I do that, one last thing. We have to do a little ad read here as well. This is important. We are extremely grateful to our Coffee and YouTube subscribers who help level up the show. A lot of the initial payments have gone into upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it also pays the on-air talent and content creators. Make sure to subscribe to our Coffee, which is linked in the chat, to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique content interviews, which will be coming rather shortly here in split number 2. That's it here for game 1. We'll see you after this break for FPX versus Top. Welcome back, everybody, to the English coverage of the LPL. We're here with the placement games to go through Group C. We've got two new teams to talk about here, as we also have the return of our defending Split 1 champions in top esports. They're going to be going up against FPX here in our second game of the day. Grapes alongside Cubby here for this one. I mean, let's get right into the rosters here, as I think the players are getting ready to take the stage shortly. We'll start off with top esports, Cubby. Again, defending champions. They went on that big lower bracket run until things fell apart for them a little bit when they went to the international stage.
Yeah, no changes here. We're going to hope that, at least in LPL, that, you know, maybe Jakulov has a few more opportunities to play the game, as it really felt like in first stand, him and Chris were under heavy target and focus from all the teams that managed to go there and get the best of top, who, yeah, I mean, they had a pretty disappointing run, right? I think looking back, top did not feel like they were contenders at that event, but again, seeing their form at that tournament and then the form that we saw from them as they ran the lower bracket gauntlet in the LPL, I think it's fair to say that it's a bit different. And we're hoping to see top return to that form we saw them last showcase when they were playing domestically and hoisting that new Split 1 trophy in the LPL.
I mean, it's been a bit of a roller coaster for them, right? They made it to Demacia Cup finals, and they lost to, you know, they lost to AL in the group stage. They started the lower bracket and then went on that lower bracket run to make it all the way back and win the entirety of Split 1. So we'll see what they look like coming in this time around. I guess if we're talking about the ups and downs, if it's a continuous cycle, if they were down in first stand, maybe they're back up here for the group stage of Split number 2. But let's take a look at their opponents. It's going to be FPX, Fun Plus Phoenix. They did not do very well last split. They're actually currently riding a 9-game losing streak after winning the first game of the split. They then have lost 9 straight. But they have a new player. They have Assume coming over from EDG, going to be filling in that bot lane position that was previously held by Bot, and him and Jue will be the new bot lane here for FPX.
And a reunion for these two from their time in Rare Atom. They were eliminated in the first round of playoffs for summer of 24, but I guess good to see Assume here. I feel like he brings a little bit of experience to this lineup and maybe to this bot lane. But for FPX and this team, look, they're a pool 4 team. It feels kind of dire at times with this squad. There's not a ton of great things to say about FPX, Grapes. Like if you told us going into this split that this would be one of the 2 orgs that we wouldn't see in Split 3, I don't think we'd be too surprised. But hey, with Assume now in, it is a chance for FPX to show us something different. We got some surprises at the group stage yesterday, and we'll see if FPX can surprise us today.
I mean, hey, going to bat a little bit here for FPX.
Yeah.
They, in their first, as the person who, you know, for some reason put them third in my group predictions, right? Like they, in their first series against RNG, which I think was the most winnable in terms of like strength of schedule, they had Sorrow in instead of Shadow. Now they're going to have their full roster come in, and also making that roster change here. I think maybe having that previously existing synergy with Assume and Jue can help out this team, especially in again, best of ones where things can operate very, very quickly. I'm very curious to see how this new bot lane looks against the OMG team that they'll be playing after this one against Top Esports. This one, definitely top favorite, I think that most people would say. And then it's just about how FPX looks after this, how they can throughout the week, and also throughout the entirety of the week.
Yeah, and again, for me, this is a team that, again, if you told me that they're not returning in Split 3, I wouldn't be surprised. So I want to see if we see something better from FPX. They didn't really inspire us on the Rift last split. So we'll see if that changes coming into a brand new group, a brand new split here.
Now, if we have some time, we do have some clips from the previous bot lane here of Assume and Joy. We can take a look at just what we can expect from these two players. Again, see them here on Rare Atom, where they did have some decent moments.
Yeah, it's kind of funny seeing them go up against NIP here. Again, playoffs didn't exactly go the way that they wanted them to do. Rare Atom, it's not like they were a favorite by any means, but it is some synergy between these two players as they do return to be this duo. And of course, I will say that at least with Jouet, the one game that they were able to pick up last split, he did play well. I feel like he was someone where it's sometimes hard to look good as a support on a losing team, but yeah, Jouet did at least have a couple ideas or a couple angles that he took. As oftentimes, sometimes it's hard to look good as an AD when you are on a losing team. We'll see if that gets better or worse here for as soon as he finds himself on this roster.
We'll say that Eco ult, that was resulted in the only win that FPX had the entirety of Split 1. So hopefully things go a little bit better for them in Split 2. Otherwise, they'll be ending their entire 2025 a little bit prematurely, as they would not be available for Split 3 if, of course, they fall down to that lower bracket and finish at the bottom to there. In terms of TES on the other side, though, I mean, you almost have to think that the pressure is mostly on them, right? After what was a very disappointing LPL performance from the LPL first representative at First Stand, if they all of a sudden like lose to FPX, it feels like FPX playing with house money a little bit here. If Top lose this one, I mean, I don't know. It would cause some shockwaves through the scene as we're taking a look at some of the lowlights that they had at this international.
I mean, I didn't feel like Top going into the international, like they didn't really adopt with their drafting, and I feel like a lot of the way that Top plays is like when you are playing these MF comps, I mean, things don't go your way early or anything goes wrong, you get outscaled, and it really felt like Top, like, we're taking early game comps, we're messing up early, not respecting teammates, and just looked bad. So I don't know if we're going to see a massive overhaul in terms of change of strategy or what they're prioritizing, but it's definitely something to look out for throughout groups today. Is again, it was a rather disappointing international performance for Top.
And hey, even lost to North America as well. I mean, nothing happened after this one play. The series ended, and nothing else happened after that. So
yeah, that's
had to throw that in there.
Yeah, I like that one. You know, you got a nice little win in there against NA. Even against the most disappointing LPL performance internationally we've seen it a bit, still find a way to make sure we score NA. That's nice, Grapes. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Hey, you gotta. We're kind of dual allegiances here on the LPL English broadcast. We're casting this, of course, from North America, so just to give them a little bit of support here. But yeah, for Top Esports, they, I think, want to prove some people wrong going in. I feel like, as somebody like you going into the group predictions, like saw the underperformance from Top and was like, okay, I'm going to predict NIP to make it out first in this group. I'm sure they want to prove a lot of those people wrong, prove why they actually made it through the entirety of that LPL lower bracket, because they took down like any and every top team. It's not like they had some easy bracket where they lucked into certain things. Like, they beat all the best teams in the LPL to get there. So they definitely earned it. It just, once they got here, didn't go as well.
Yeah, I think the one big difference maker that we're going to look like for as well, at least for Top Esports, is Kanavi. Kanavi is a legendary LPL player, one of the best junglers that we've ever seen compete in this league, and it really felt like he flopped internationally in a way that we haven't seen before. I think that in terms of them winning the split, we did see some good and bad games from Kanavi. It felt like he definitely played good enough for them to win, but there were games where they were winning and losing just because of his performance. It's going to happen in the jungle, but it really felt like he was the weak link going international. So if there's any player to really put a microscope under, not this team needs any more focus. I feel like every LPL fan has been watching this team with the most critical eye that you can possibly watch them as they did go international. But for me, if there's one member where I'm really looking to see him, scale up or at least take away anything from a game today, it's can Kanavi put together some good games. So something he didn't do internationally, and we'll see if he's able to play better in Split 2.
Yeah, and while Top Esports, I'm sure a lot of their focus in terms of draft prep and practice going into this week is probably for that next matchup that they're going to play against NIP, but they got to make sure they start off on the right foot here as well, because if you immediately come off of dropping 3-0 to Hanwha and then losing to FPX, a team that has lost 9 straight games, that would not be a good look. So you just got to make sure you take care of business here, per se, before you go on to that task that you might consider a little bit tougher. And again, in a best of 1, you can never count anybody out, because as soon as you make one mistake, things could suddenly go south for you.
Top Esports back in the LPL. Of course, international time didn't go the way they wanted to, as I'm sure everyone knows. But hey, we'll see domestically. I mean, let's be honest, potentially a warm-up match here against FPX if things go the way that we expect it to go for later. So, but hey, you know what? When you're going up against Shadow, he's always going to throw you some curveballs. It's always going to be weird. See if he gets any lead. So Shadow never likes to play standard. Well, he's got some up his sleeves, so we'll see that's going to be the case tonight against Kanavi and Top Esports. Because let's face it, FPX, if they want to find any wins, I'd be much more surprised to see them win standard going up against Top Esports than not. I feel like Shadow's in because they want to throw curveballs, and he is someone that is always going to throw something at you. So,
hey, I mean, why not, right? You're already the severe underdogs. Probably not going to win, as you said, in a standard play style. Let's go for something crazy. I mean, I can't think of anything super crazy off the top of my head. I know that Nefiri was around earlier, so if you want to play a jungler that can really hard carry, that could be a possibility here for Shadow. I don't know. Well, I'm excited to see Top Esports back in their element, back in the LPL, where of course they found a lot of success, especially towards the back half of the season. They took down another team in this group, NIP, 3-1 en route to winning that championship. But it's gonna have to start right here. Players are preparing for the draft, and just another note here for FPX, right? Like, if you win this game specifically, or if you come up with a win out of the ordinary against any of these teams, like, that can give you a situation where you might have yourself a chance of not fully just being sent into that 4th seed, into that lower bracket, right? And so that is
the Fury band.
Okay. Well,
all right. We'll learn fast on that one.
Looks like actually it was FPX taking away. They didn't want Kanavi taking advantage of that potentially, as relatively standard bans all throughout. When that was B1 in the last game, taken away on red side. It's going to be a very, very fast Jace lock in here for FPX to start things off.
Okay. For me, a lot of eyes are actually on Nidalee. It's been a really big pick for Kanavi and Top Esports. So with the Ione walk-in here, wouldn't be surprised if we get a Kanavi Nidalee coming in as... Oh, okay, never mind. It's going to be Sejuani. So melee on melee synergy. Likely saving a top pick for last. Maybe we get Ambessa being played into the Jace. And I feel like the only way FPX could even think about denying it here is going for like a Zyra or a Maokai, and then they really want to slam the Ambessa here. They could flex the Jace around.
And then Maokai here, probably towards Shadow. Kara's going to lock in that Corki. A little bit flexible here, but we've seen it more towards the mid lane as of late. We'll see what Top Esports have to say about it on the other side. Maybe the Varus locked in. Another, as you said, very powerful champion, this time going into the hands of Jackie.
Yeah, so the Jace and the Corki, they can technically double flex this around if they do want to go for Corki bot, Jace mid. But at the moment, I do like the idea to take the Varus. I expect to see maybe a ban that protected the Jace in the top side. And if they really want to get rid of Ambessa, they can. I think that might be worth the idea, especially with a Sejuani can really help attack the Jace. But there are so many options up there that you could just have FPX go, hey, you know what? We just want to take away things that we're scared of. Nico being taken away at support. That's a big one. A nice wombo there for Crisp to help line up a Yone combo. No option anymore. But yeah, maybe Renata being taken away, or Nautilus. Okay. So not ban. Maybe looking to protect a potential Rel coming out from Jouet, or a Leona, been very popular. Of course, a lot of things on the table, but a double support ban towards Crisp. That's Something mid. Oh boy, we have a Scion. So it looks like Top Esports learned something at first stand, you know. They're going to be playing Driver Scion up in the top lane here for 369.
That's true. And ended up working well for their opposition at that international competition. I will say, like, this would be an opportunity to maybe send that Jace to the mid lane. Scion does very well into the Jace. Pretty good neutralizer there. And there's a lot of good top laners that Sheer could play into the Scion, but it looks like right now they're hovering any carry. They're going to lock the Ezreal in and just play this, you know, long extended poke comp instead.
I was a bit surprised, like, now that we see Scion locked into the Jhin ban. I feel like Ezreal, not that he's going to do a ton of damage to a Scion either, but Ezreal's for sure slippier, like much more slippery when it comes to this front line. So, whereas Jhin, you know, doesn't really damage the Sejuani Scion. Leona is going to be locked in to round things out. So Chris, yeah, likely just going to go for the Braum and play catch. So I will say that Engage for Top Esports, they have Sejuani, they have Scion, they have Yone, but kind of an interesting comp here for top. It really feels like they're going to be a little bit more on the back foot, potentially against a Maokai. And if Maokai gets any control over this map, again, the scaling between him, the Corki, the Ezreal, there's a lot of scaling on FPX, so I think the onus is really on Top Esports to make plays and play this game quickly.
There's a good amount of poke here from FPX as well. You have the Ezreal, the Corki, even the Jace throwing out those accelerated shock blasts. And Leona and Maokai can both engage from very far range with their ultimates, right? And so if you are FPX, if you can get to a stage where you can start sieging these turrets without that big primary engage on Top Esports, that could be a decent opportunity for you to take advantage of the compositions that have been sorted out here in this draft. For the second game of our first round robin here in Group C, our first look at the defending champions, Top Esports, since their appearance at First Stand. We're on the other side. FunPlus Phoenix, they need to get something working before their season goes fully on the back foot.
I just love seeing the Scion here for 369, Slime in that. He definitely going to be his job to eat a lot of that poke that you were highlighting coming into these objectives. So we'll see if Top Esports learned anything from First Stand outside of just the Scion pick itself. It was a common matchup that we saw into the Jace that the Flying Oyster used great success themselves throughout the tournament. So definitely a matchup where you get pushed around a little bit as Scion, but you each scale. And of course, if you get Scion to have good setups for those mid-game fights, I mean, those ults can be game-changing if they're able to connect. So see if 369 is able to really lean on his tank specialty that we've seen throughout his career and maybe lean on some of the learnings he took from Driver at First Stand himself.
As we load onto the Rift, we'll see if they learn from their oysters here in this first game of Split 2 for them. A little aggressive opening here right now. That's a Braum already having that concussive blows onto Jue. Still has his flash, really uses the Aftershock finally. Not going to do too much to defend him. No summoner spells blown there for FPX instead, so they will head back to base just fine, but it got a little scary there for a second.
Yeah, it's going to be the poke setup for Jackie Love. Did start with the Q in this matchup. So, Braum and poke Varus, you know, it's not the same abuse that you can have with the on-hit Varus, where you get a ton of attack speed to make sure those Winter's Bites proc quickly. But should at least very much dissuade Jue from hopping in. As Braum versus Leona, it can be really dangerous as Leona. You go in, you wait out the Aftershock to proc everything as the Braum, and we've seen this matchup be really tough for Leona if it's played correctly on the Braum side. So we'll see if Jackie Love and Chris can start their bounce back now.
I know you have a lot of experience with that Braum matchup. I mean,
dude, there was a post on Reddit that was talking about Braum.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was first page today. It was like, you know, Braum is actually a lot better or cooler than you think when it's played competitively at this level because of XYZ, and I'm watching this like, yeah, they aren't even talking about the good tech, man. Where's approach velocity and all this?
I mean, they certainly weren't listening to UCAS.
Yeah.
They were just coming up with that information. I feel like one of the biggest Braum preachers in our space. So
I mean, it's one of the very few feathers in my cap that I can put as a player that was perma-stuck D2 plus. That was rank 1 Braum in A.
Hey, we'll take it.
Got baptized by Core JJ a few times. You know, we'll take those.
It's a learning experience, and now you've used that expertise to help you here in terms of bot lane matchups into the LPL as So far, the Braum not doing too much. As actually was Assume and Jue hitting level 2 first, but Jackie Love and Chris will match that. I will say overall, looking at the compositions, it seems like Top Esports, we mentioned how maybe last game, lacking damage and lacking the magic damage for OMG. It seems like with the poke Varus instead of the on-hit Varus, I might be seeing a little bit more of that this game.
I'm really concerned about Top Esports if this game goes late. But I will say Yone does bring a decent amount of magic damage to the table, and the focus is on the Corki earlier, but Cream, that Q was not exactly fired in the right direction where the Valkyrie came out. Good dodge from Care. Kanavi's going to return to his camp. I do like at least the unique timing there from Kanavi to try and 4-camp and go mid. Corki was kind of pushed up, didn't get as much as they wanted, but it was an idea. I didn't hate that one.
Yeah, and actually an early reset forced out of Assume, and that actually forced him to miss a cannon minion. Valk forward from Care, forcing Cream out just a little bit. As early game actually going okay for FPX, right? But I mean, maybe we're counting our chickens too soon because we saw what happened after OMG got a couple of farm advantages in the first 5 minutes, then NIP happened at the end for the next 25.
I mean, at the moment, though, Shadow talked about him throwing some curveballs. A dive on the Cream, maybe.
Yeah, but Kanavi's here as well, ready to try and make this a 2-for-2. Flash away from Care to get away from the Arctic Assault. And Shadow will use that phase rush to run away as well. Nice protection there from Kanavi.
I didn't like that look from Shadow. You saw Sejuani with a red buff. You know that she's going to be on the bot side. And just with the approach, a little bit too much time for Kanavi to try and respond. Did burn the flash, so they do get Kanavi's flash out of that. But feels like a little bit there was sacked by Shadow. He's going to get the super clear off, so it's not all bad, but didn't really get the time out of Kanavi that he wanted. I don't know. That was a risky dive. So that one doesn't connect, and now all eyes going to be on these the first Drake, first Grubs here, Grapes, as we'll see really what the choice is here by Kanavi. I feel like a Grub fight could be really good for Top Esports. They have 6 on their solo laners, so I think that's the goal.
I mean, right now, it's the bot lane for Top Esports doing really, really well for themselves. They are not too far ahead or in CS or anything like that, but they've already forced a reset out of Assume. They've already chunked it down to half HP again, so they are getting their licks in with this poke Varus right now. As Care actually valks forward in onto Cream, trying to get this wave fully crashed in. Looks like that will be a goal that is accomplished. As again, Assume and Jue forced away with their wave not in the best spot.
Jackie Love doing good work on the Varus, as always, pretty much. So, really tough for Assume to fight this early on. We've seen a lot of Varus versus Ezreal. Ezreal is a champ that can outscale the poke Varus, but you really need that, Miramana spike, and then the Shojins where you really hit your stride if you want to talk about actually outscaling that pick. And poke Varus really scales about like how many good targets he has, which I'll say the targets for a poke Varus in this game is not fantastic. The chase we've seen this build, you get quite a bit tankier, but to see Shadow go for the Andres build, there will be a point in the mid game where Jackie Love's going to have pretty much 5 good targets to hit before some of the tankier items come in for FPX. So Top Esports at least going to use this to continue to throw their weight around early. Maybe looking at the Grubs, but I got to say, FPX got 2. That's pretty big.
Yeah, because Kanavi tried to go for that play onto Sheer and didn't end up having that work out for them. So even though Top Esports were first to top lane play, and with the bot lane that has been continuously taking advantage of Assume's way, it's actually FPX who get that little advantage down there in the Grub department. They go up 2-1 in a matchup into play that probably should have gone Top Esports' way.
Like this though, Chris trying to cut off FPX. They find Shadow. Maybe we'll toss around a little bit. Kanavi does have Smite if he wants to contest this, but the Q Smite does win from Maokai.
Oh, Kanavi ends up stealing that one away. So, a little outplay there from the Top Esports jungler. He still got those hands, of course. Looks like they're actually still continuing the pressure here on to Shadow and Jue. There's no red buff to fight for right now, but they're still in that pit.
Yeah, a little bit of wasted time there from Top Esports, but at least they get a Smite out of Shadow. They could go hit this dragon now. Pretty safe. Okay. Cream can't fully commit. Of course, Jue has sums, would be able to potentially lock Yone up under the turret. Would be big trouble for Cream. That said, Cream getting Care to base now. Hero Mage Minion.
That's the real MVP right there.
Yeah. First Dragon does go over to Top Esports, though, all that's going on. So, not all bad here for Top.
And they find themselves up at 200 gold just through lanes, and right now that is opened up towards the bottom lane. Jackie Love and Crisp really taking advantage of the 2v2 so far. They find themselves up 400 gold. Everywhere else, though, FPX are kind of in control. You see Care opening up a 10 to 12 CS lead over Cream. Sheer doing okay in the Sion matchup so far, although the more armor that Sion's able to pick up, the harder and harder this matchup does get, especially if you aren't able to snowball with an early game kill. So Sheer's gonna be in trouble maybe in a little bit, but right now he's doing okay.
For me, Sheer has actually, really felt like we kind of set this up as be grim for FPX and their hopes, but Sheer has been the bright point for me on this roster, if there really has been any. So good to see, of course, Sheer, the Jace, very powerful pick. And this matchup, we do expect to see the Sion go down a little bit in terms of CS, but of course that tank Sion can be really useful in terms of throwing around your weight in the mid game. That's where I want to see Top Esports again. Just try and speed this game up. As this game goes on, we see the Corki, see the Ezreal, see the Maokai, the Jace. There is a lot of scaling on FPX's team. So I don't think that this game is a free win later on for Top Esports by any means. It's really on them to push the pace of this game forward. And at the moment, Crisp and Kanavi wasting some time seeing some empty camps. The Shadow has done a nice job of getting at it, staying ahead.
And it's the same thing that we saw last game, right? Where NIP against OMG were the team that had to push the initiative. And it was around this point where they really started to go for those plays, right? With the Vi ultimates, Galio ultimates. The tools are available now for Top Esports to do the same. You have Kanavi, level 7, has had that Glacial Prison available for quite some time. 369 can follow up with Engage. There's heavy crowd control on all 5 of their champions' ultimates that they could use in succession of each other if they want to. But they haven't been able to find anything just yet, and they're continuing to allow FPX to scale. Of course, that could all change as soon as one play goes awry for FPX, and Top Esports can maybe start to take control there. But right now, you have to give credit to a team like FPX who absolutely did not have the first split that they wanted to. Going up against the LPL champions right now, and so far, not really making any crucial mistakes.
No, so far doing all right. Really tough thing, though, for FPX at this point of the game. When you go up against Poke Varus, you just do not get mid priority at this point. This champ and this build, you just absolutely delete every wave that comes your way. It's really hard to contest, so that's really the fact that they're just throwing Varus mid and kind of insta-winning that lane gives you the opportunity to move first to a lot of plays, including potential grubs, as Jackie making his way back in here.
Yeah, Shadow can pick up 1. That would be really big. Try to keep up that count at 3, but instead it's going to be a full engage, actually, with that ultimate from Shadow. Jway already forced to flash away. There's a 3-man Fate Seal from Cream, but he gets knocked back, not able to finish off anybody on FPX, and Top Esports are forced to run for the hills. 369's at only 300 HP. Care valks forward, forces Kanavi to flash away, use the blast cone defensively. That'll absolutely lock up that grub for FPX. They prevent any of those feats of strength from going over, and they keep themselves alive in this game, Cubby.
A 3-3 split is not bad at all. Jace able to TP bot to pick up the rest of that wave. FPX gonna be sitting kind of pretty with this one.
So all things considered, the gold's starting to slide a little bit more towards Top Esports, but haven't picked up any kills. They haven't picked up a significant major objective other than that Chemtech Dragon. And now the grubs are even, right? And so this is that early game composition that we were talking about, and this is where Top Esports should have been able to find a win.
Yeah, the big thing for me, Jackie Love's late. He based to get an item, so he's not able to put Poke down before the fight, and they got a lot done against the Sion. Shadow did a really nice job of buying space, buying time. They were able to absorb a really good Yone ult from Cream, who didn't have enough damage to get through any of the members of FPX, so nice job by them to absorb something there. And again, the fact that Jackie Love isn't here early to set up to get the poke off, like how FPX just got the objective. They pressed the Maokai R. They said, hey, if we eat Varus Qs, we're not going to be in good shape. He's not here. Let's fight now. They locked up the Sion. And again, a grub split, I think, is a pretty nice, but like small but nice win for them. So good job, FPX.
You can see, again, like for Top Esports, especially when Jackie Love is not there. The damage really lacking, right? I mean, Cream came in with that 3-man ultimate. There was no follow-up. You can credit maybe the fact that they burned 369's ultimate a little bit earlier in the process, but it seems like a lot of things have to go right for Top Esports, or they have to just soak up all of the engaged tools from FPX first before they can follow up with the tools of their own. That's just the way that their composition currently functions. But right now, they're going to be able to at least pick up the second dragon and get some control in that department.
No contest there. Man, you mentioned 369 Sun. He's even stealing some of the tech the build that Driver had. So Top definitely learned something from the Flying Oysters here. As it's the Frozen Heart, and the Swifties was a big thing that I saw Driver using just to help better position yourself as Scion. It was quite important with getting your Qs off. I mean, of course, you're immobile during that, but sometimes that bonus in-combat move speed can be a difference maker, and just the slow resist, which is going to be pretty valuable this game, at least against Maokai is a frontliner for Scion. Can help you close a little bit extra gap, or maybe position yourself a little bit better to get a nice Q off. I like the fact that I know it was a bummer for Top Esports at the International. You don't want to going into the event. If you'd told me that Top would have lost the bracket stage to the Flying Oysters, I probably would have said you're nuts. But hey, at least it's showing they learned something from it, Grapes. Improvement.
And let's see, they're going to find something here onto Care, just a little bit too far forward. The flash not successful either. That is first blood picked up for Top Esports as they finally get themselves on the board.
Yeah, flash, but of course that Q3 on Yone is a bit janky. It kind of starts behind him. Still got caught, so the flash and death, that's going to hurt from Care. And giving Cream some free time at the side. Then plates have fallen. Yone is just going to be able to pick this one up, so that should be first brick, and that feat secured from Top Esports, putting them quite close to feats in general.
It's just that one little play that might allow for Top Esports to get back into this game. Let's take another look at this one. It seems like Care a little bit too aggressive. I mean, there was not really much to go for other than maybe the wave a little bit early.
I mean, he had a control ward in the Tribe Rush, and if you're going to flash, you just flash the Fate Sealed. I think if he flashes that, then he's able to walk on out of there. Or he would have to sidestep a Sejuani ult and then just hope that Yone can't DPS him down. But now you have Yone, and this is a very happy spot for Top Esports. Again, the Scion, Yone, like these two lanes, and Jaculov being mid, this map's pretty easy for Top Esports to play. It's just, okay, Varus has push. We're going to go help or funnel into the Yone lane and try and get him ahead. Now Cream going to catch a wave, has the Bork, a little bit accelerated in this game thanks to that first blood and the turret. And the game plan pretty easy here for Top Esports is to continue to clear under the Yone and really pressure this lane that cannot be answered now for FPX, given the fact that Corky's down to flash.
Yeah, now that Cream is a little bit more online, he'll be able to go in kind of on his own, find flanks on his own. And I think that's very crucial for how Top Esports composition wants to function. And so that opens up a lot of possibilities now for this team. It seemed like when Cream was a little bit further behind, him going in, landing that 3-man ult didn't do too much. I think now it's going to hurt a little bit more as the Rift Herald is going to spawn right now. Actually, looks like FPX is there first, but we'll see if Top Esports want to try to collapse on this or not. Chris gaining control of that mid lane. Looks like they're actually going to foreshadow, and the rest of FPX alone.
Yeah, I think FPX just kind of tickling it to make sure that it can't be a free start here from Top Esports. Going to force that thing to reset. But again, this is where it's really tough to go up against Poke Varus, because those waves get deleted. That said, Shadow, of course, going for the Andres Maokai build, being the magic damage on his team. The saplings do hurt. Maokai does a lot of damage with this build. This FPX, see if they look for a fight, but that's a big piercing arrow coming out of Jaculov. Ult casted.
Nature's Grasp. In comes Shadow. He steals away the Rift Herald. Now what can the fight look like on the other side? Unstoppable Onslaught comes through. 369 will take down Jue. Cream will go down, though. And here comes Sheer. He flashes to the wall. He picks himself up a double kill, and Jaculov is potentially caught out. He flashes into the red buff pit, but Shadow is looking to close the distance, and it's a snipe from Assume to claim the feats of warfare, the Rift Herald, and the fight win for FPX.
Okay, now things get pretty interesting, because that Rift Herald steal, the insta drop, that's going to be the outer that falls. And a gold lead now goes over to FPX and a comp where, again, they heavily outscale Top Esports in this game. So FPX taking a few steps to really set themselves up for success. And for me, the big difference maker in that one it was Sheer being able to go over the wall and clean up the low health bars that Top Esports had. Big difference maker as Sheer is chasing the Sion matchup. You get your farm. You know, it's kind of a lane for Sion where you're trying to absorb and lose gracefully. Sheer had economy and was able to use it really nicely here. As, of course, Shadow, the Q Smite, lands true. Cream gets stuck in the back of the pit. He didn't have any impact in this fight being the fed one. And then a 369 of the Sion just kind of had to walk his way out, leaving the other carries for Top Esports rather exposed. Hanavi and Jackie will have found, and a lot of gold now onto this chase.
And shout out to Assume as well, the new addition for FPX. He ate the Sejuani ultimate, cleansed away. You flash away from 369's ultimate. That's all the main engage tools that Top Esports had, and he was able to clean up the rest of that fight as well. I know it was a tough early game for him, but able to turn things around and allow for FPX to get back into this game just a little bit. Ends up being a trade of that top lane tower as 369 was able to pick that up, but FPX are able to prevent the whole point from going over, and they're feeling very happy with the way this game is currently situated.
Again, those double Miramanas going to be coming in here pretty soon for FPX. Shadow might have to walk his way out of this one.
There comes the ultimate as well from Chris. Looks like Shadow not going to live through this one as the tank squad comes through for Top Esports and get themselves right back into an even playing state. Now 3 kills to 3 overall. Right back in the lead in terms of gold, although not by much at this point. So what's to do next? Not much to play around the map for now. We're waiting for those tiers to come through. They're fully stacked for both Care and Assume. This is where the scaling really can start to take control.
I do want to compliment Top on that play. 369 got top lane in all the way. So he rotated mid. The rest of Top kind of collapsed into Shadow, who probably shouldn't have been on those Krugs and got punished for it. So well played from Top Esports. But again, as you stated, this 500 gold lead is not what Top Esports were looking for, given the drafts that we have. And I gotta say that Infernal Dragon too, being secured by FPX, it denied Soul Point, and it's a lot more abusable for their team than it is for Top Esports. So, I mean, you have everyone on the team, minus Leona, building damage with Maokai going for the Leandries. It's really gonna help against a lower damage team from Top Esports. Again, it's a Sion Sejuani topside, and that's why I was a little bit surprised to see the Poke Fair, especially paired up with this Braum. Is Cream gonna have to ult out and Jouer?
Solar Flare comes out, Cream to the dodge it, and flash away from the True Shot Barrage, but it looks like the FPX want to keep going for this one, and this could be a bit of an overextension as the rest of Top Esports are able to collapse. Cream picks up the kill, Sheer will go down, and it's a 4v5 for the next 40 seconds on the map.
Sheer might have been able to actually threaten Cream there if he had the Empowered Shock Blast, but I think he left the gate a little bit behind him, and then ended up being a one-way trip in. Mistake there from FPX again. Still the weaker team of this one, but this Top Esports comp, they do not do a ton of damage. So I am very curious to see if the Ezreal Corki can actually get through this really beefy front line that Top Esports has in the Sion Sejuani, because that is one thing. Like, you don't want to really build pen on Corki, and the pen you're getting as Ezreal is like, I mean, Sorel does later on. Hell, if he built like LDR or Grievous in this one, I feel like that's completely understandable, frankly, given how big this front line is for Top Esports. So I know Sorel has actually went under a bit of a change or perspective change too with the last patch. So kind of curious to see when the pen does come in for Assume, because yeah, of course, Top lower damage comp, but a lot of tankiness on their side in exchange.
Yeah, and that's kind of the balancing act, right? Like, how much damage can Cream put out before his front line goes down? Jackie Love also going more of a defensive build. You think workings of a Edge of Night as the second item with the Tunneler picked up for him as well. So that's going to be a little bit less damage from him in addition, on top of what was already a relatively low damage build. But I don't know. We'll see how the rest of this opens up here. FTX, they're gonna almost have 3 of those Muramanas, which do a lot of damage to basically everyone, especially at this stage in the game. Otacon available. Dragon up in about a minute. There'll be another Infernal for these two teams to contest.
Really curious what the setup ends up being here for Top Esports. Of course, Jackie Love going to make his way towards a blue buff as with bot lane being in all the way, Cyan does have the opportunity to walk up and really support a bot river overtake here from Top Esports. And with Jackie Love still being on this poke Ferris, yeah, these waves get deleted. So he's going to do his best to just get the health bars a little bit lower here for FPX. Should be a lot of control for Top Esports, but curious actually to see Kanavi, who is getting pinged out here by FPX, potentially be found. Shadow should sapling that. Yep. So they're going to sniff out the Sejuani here. That's a nice little win for FPX, and good job by Shadow, of course, on the Maokai. The saplings kind of vision help you play forward line decently well. He's doing a nice job at least making sure that they know where Top Esports are setting up.
Now the question goes towards this dragon. Solar Flare comes out. Jackie Love had the spell shield, so will not get locked down by it, and neither will the Nature's Grasp. The Shadow has that ultimate blocked out by Chris. Now comes the re-engage. Here comes 369. He's going to land the ultimate only onto the Maokai, but a two-man decimating smash is all that Top Esports need to get this fight off on the right foot. Care has to Valk over the wall into the Raptor pit, and Top Esports should have control of this dragon now in a 4v5.
I know we talked about the scaling here for FPX, but that Scion, this fight, the first fight that we saw, top drop, that the Scion, you were able to get through it, actually kill it. Not that time around. That Scion was invincible. That is one thing about this this game. This Scion just went double armor items. Going to be really tough to deal with. Is of course only Maokai is bringing the magic damage. So who knows? Maybe 369 just kind of out tank the Corki Ezreal and these two champs that really don't want to buy pen. Going to be an interesting dichotomy as we go through this game. Just, of course, top being lower damage, but really tanky, and then FPX being full damage and Care.
No flash. He might be in trouble here. Looks like the Soul Unbound going to go back with a little bit too much help on Care's side.
Yeah, Cream missed a Q. That's all that Care needed to just barely get his way out. Top Esports is putting themselves on Soul Point like that, and FPX still, I really felt like they weren't able to get in, and that's where Poke Varus is still so strong, with his ability to just delete mid waves, then dip into Vision or Fog, where you are walking through these piercing arrows quite tough.
And then you look at 369, I mean, you're talking about it, Covey, but I don't think anybody other than maybe Care at this point can do much to him. Not even a full accelerated shock blast can take down his shield at this point in the game. 1,000 HP already unlocked on the Soul Furnace, and now they could potentially look for something here with Crisp and 369. Really good position to take control of this top side jungle. Try to maybe steal away this blue buff as well. It's going to be a big win for Top if they're able to control that. Looks like FPX really want it. Oh, it gets barely picked up. I think that was Kanavi that steal it away.
See, Top Esports, they're rocking all the Baron-empowered blue buffs, so goes to everyone on the team. And this game has really kind of thrown me for a bit of a loop, because I see Maokai double marksman. I'm instantly thinking like, oh boy, scaling, right? FPX is in good shape, but yeah, like that last fight, the last interaction we had, I'm like, do want to give. Like, I just don't want to put this in the champions. We're gonna get a replay.
Oh, we're bored. We're bored.
It was Crisp.
Whoa. Okay.
That's a powerful Q. Plus 90, baby. I'll take that one. And yeah, you're right. We are bored for showing that. But, like, just the lack of damage that 369 took in the last fight and that ult that he had was so good.
Oh, man. Dwayne just gets caught out, has the Aftershock, which keeps him alive for a long time, but he will finally go down to Kanavi. Now assumed in a bit of a bad spot, has to shift over the wall to prevent from that decimating smash from coming through. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Cream just 1v1's Care in the side lane, and that means Top Esports can fully go onto this team fight. Shadow will fall. Blast Cone forces Sheer and Assume back, but it is a 3-for-0 across multiple areas of the map for Top Esports, as they now can go towards either of these neutral objectives on the top side.
Yeah, I can only assume the all-in bot Cream was able to land his Qs this time around against Care, who went down, and again, 369 just gets to walk wherever he pleases. These waves getting deleted by the Scion. He's able to collapse, help the team, and just refuse to get pushed out. As FPX relegated looking for turrets, and Sheer relegated to fighting this 1v2. He's going to have to run for the hills. A little bit tricky here.
Looks like he's probably going to just try to buy as much time as possible, as the Baron has already gone over to Top Esports. Looks like he does a little bit of damage, but Cream will get the help from his support, and the Krispy Kreme duo will be able to take Sheer down.
I was expecting the Krispy Kreme duo to come out. As here, we're going to see... okay, so he just sniped him in the brush. Wow, that's... I guess just assumed he was basing, or I don't see a TP channel coming out. Oh, he dipped into the brush after he killed the wave, so that's how Kareem was able to guess. Oh, yeah, there was TP coming out, so he was locked up. Wow, that's a really big win. And then, again, 369. Gonna get a flash out of Sheer. Gonna connect with Shadow. Still finds the 2-man. I know Assume was able to get out of there, but I like the idea of 369 even flashing forward to try and keep on pursuing that. If it's not Infernal Rift and they don't have access to that blast cone, I think Chase is for sure on for top esports.
That could have been a really bad thing for Assume if he ended up getting caught by that Sejuani ultimate, but it looks like he will be okay. However, the damage has been done through this Baron going down. I mean, FPX were in a position where they were up in gold. They were maybe scaling a little bit, but now the gold deficit over 6K after that Baron.
It's Infernal Soul too, and you can see the kind of the head scratch of the FPX in, because Kare is working his way towards an LDR. And again, you got to imagine that Ezreal is Shojin at the moment. It has to be... Oh, hold on. Have a fight. 369.
Broke a little bit, but again, 369 just taking up so much damage on this front line. Shadow does a nice job with the Bramble Smash, but he's 3 levels down compared to 369, and he will drop very, very easily, and so will Assume. Here comes Cream as well. Fade Seal not going to connect onto Sheer, but the damage might have already been done. Kare is level 16, but does not have enough damage to survive this in a 2v4, I would assume. Here comes Jue to try to buy a little bit of space, but it's a 5v2 opening up on the map. The health bars are low, but low does not mean dead here on the map for top esports. Kare will barely survive, but he might just have to watch his base crumble in his own sights underneath his own fountain. The Nexus towers are under fire. Still 15 seconds on Shadow coming back to life. Kare will go down, and top esports come back with a vengeance here in the LPL and will win the game over FPX.
Well, if you can't beat him, join him there from 369, piloting that Scion damn well in this win for top esports. For me, I know the Cream found some big solo kills later on, but I'm probably going to honor 369 with the player of the game there, as top esports took a game that, as you called out, Graves, looking close for a little bit and made that look really one-sided in the end, and see some of the shortcomings of FPX. So with a couple of those, for me, the big one was that 4th Dragon setup where after they got the Infernal Dragon, felt like they had some control over the game, and just the double ults being thrown out by the Leona, the Maokai, that reach that failed, really put them in a tough spot. And then we just saw Scion. I thought the Ezreal Corki would scale with the Maokai, but that game, it was, I guess, Scion just outscaling all, as he could not be dealt with, man. That was a big Scion for 369.
I mean, now we just need to see him do a little dance once he gets up on the stage. It looks like he didn't copy that part of the Oysters after the win on the Scion there. But hey, you know, the pressure was a little bit on them. Obviously, this was supposed to be, you never want to say warm up in a tier 1 league, but for top esports, well, they got that matchup against NIP.
Don't check NIP's Twitter after game 1 if you don't want to talk about warm ups then, because may or may not have been their tweet. Nice warm up game with the scoreboard showing. Yeah.
Hey, it sets up for some pretty interesting matchups over our next 2 games here, though, because we have FPX going up against OMG first, the 2 losers, and then, of course, that big heavyweight bout between top esports and NIP, a rematch of a matchup in the lower bracket of the playoffs in split number 1 as well. We're getting closer and closer to that one, so I feel like that first set of games between these 4 teams has kind of confirmed our expectations that this was really cut and dry in terms of a top 2 and a bottom 2. But seeing these, top 2 and bottom 2 teams, duke it out should be pretty interesting at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say I thought FPX showed some more signs of life than OMG, even though I have OMG over FPX, so maybe that makes for a promising bout later on. And I want to give some credit to top esports. Again, FPX, they're not the strongest team we have in the LPL, but I did feel like after the Rift fight that there was, a real chance we could see top struggle in that game to not find the right solutions, to fall further behind against FPX. But they played that map out really well. I think the push that Jaculov had in mid, and then 369 on the Scion again. There's so many moments where we just saw him push his lane in, go join the team, and make something happen for top esports. And for me, he was by player of the game in that one. I thought 369 was quite big.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's kind of the style that he came up with, right? Like being the weak side, soaking up a lot of pressure, and looks like he can still do that pretty well, especially against somebody like Sheer, who's a bit more of a younger gun, who was maybe somebody who could play some of these flashy picks. Didn't end up working too well against Sion.
You know, we missed out there. He was like the driver to deliver the Krispy Kreme donuts, you know, on the Sion.
Yeah. Sends him right in on the LT.
He was making sure that the glaze made it to you back home.
That's true. And we're glazing him pretty hard during this game, and did pretty well. I think we both have him listed as the player of the game. You know, we do see Jackie Love doing a lot of the damage. However, you know, Poke Ferris, they had a good job in the laning phase. Man. Yeah, you're throwing out Qs every 15 seconds. You know.
Not even. It's a cheat code there for damage stats. But we're gonna look back. I will say I wouldn't be surprised if this player of the game went to Cream, just because he really took over in the side lane. And again, like we see a lot of these Yone Sejuani Rumble, Yone Sejuani Sion for the same purpose, is the fact that the Rumble Sion, they play alone. Focus everything onto the Yone side. We did see Top do that really successfully in the mid game. And then Cream got to a point where no one could deal with him on the side, then was able to find solo wins. Big difference maker later on going up against FPX. This is the one, again, Sheer just didn't find the empowered EQ there. It wouldn't have been enough, but that Q in the Sejuani was a bit bold. And for me, I thought Sheer was like a small bright spot for FPX at points, but definitely did not have a great chase game outside of that Rift Herald fight.
Yeah, this really like officially sealed the game right here for Top Esports. The game was still close at this point, and it's actually a very similar situation to what happened in the NIP versus OMG game, where it was close for a little bit. We're like, okay, OMG can scale, and then it's one little mistake that compounds into, again, a Baron, and then an end here for Top Esports, who, again, were the favorites coming into this game.
Yeah, I mean, arguably favorites in the group, given what they did in LPL last split. So see if they're able to make it happen again this split. I don't know. I just like the fact that Top Esports showed they weren't something right off the bat from first stand, which was that team beat us. We're going to steal their strats and use it pretty well. So it was a good sign game for 369. He piloted that champion really well this game.
Absolutely. This is the end of the game right here as well. We'll see who they decide to give the player of the game to. I will say last game, I think, even though we were praising the top side for NIP, they gave it over to Leave instead. So maybe they're looking at that high damage number for Jackie Love. I don't know. But
please know it's Poke Ferris. 40% damage percentage is not nearly as impressive on Poke Ferris as it is on many other champions. You know, it's fine.
That's true. I'm just preparing us for a situation that we might have been expecting. I don't want to say the worst. Jackie Love, he did all right. Doing some ultimate stuff there.
Look, all I'll say is that Media Kek W is the thing in the LCK stream, not the LPL stream. As of course, the media votes and the Media Kek W, the classic for one. You get the surprise media votes, whether it's the non-simultaneous victor or the media vote actually makes it go to a player of the game that the English desk thought was not player of the game, which happens quite often over in the LCK. I will say that in LPL, they've been a lot more aligned with what they think or who they think the player of the game is.
Okay, they went with your second option. They went with Cream.
I'm 0 for 2 so far saying that, but I can see why I went for Cream.
Like a half.
Yeah, he made some nice solo plays. Again, I think that this draft, you're playing the Sion Sejuani topside. You're playing that to play into the Yone. And I felt like Cream did a decent job of this. He found some nice plays. The Sejuani helped get him started, but at times, you know, might have been able to snowball a little bit quicker. There was one kill he missed out on. He missed a couple Qs against Kara. I like the Sion joining the team, making things happen. 369. That was kind of nice, but good game from Cream there.
Yeah, good for Cream. One of the newer players, you know, on this Top Esports roster by comparison. You know, you look at the rest of the roster, and somebody who maybe had a little bit more inconsistencies in their play throughout split number 1 or just throughout his time on this organization. So seeing him get that win, definitely very good. Able to take advantage of the Yone pickup that he's, of course, very comfortable on. But that's going to do it for our coverage of this game, specifically with Top Esports going up to 1-0 in Group C. We've got the matchup between the two losers from our last games up next. Fun plus Phoenix against OMG right after this break. Welcome back, everybody, to LPL English, where we've got our third game of the day as we continue our coverage of Group C in the Split 2 placements of the 2025 season. Grapes and Cubby here with you to cover FPX versus OMG. Both these teams lost their first games of the day, currently sitting at 0-1. Both currently the favorites to be at the bottom half of this group, specifically Cubby. And so this game and the one that they'll play again in a couple days against each other are going to prove to be very, very important.
Yeah, I mean, the stakes are really high if you are not top 2 in your group, because if you are a 4th seed, then you get into Group Nirvana, where the bottom 2 teams from that group are not just eliminated for Split 2. Your season is done. We will see you again in January for Demacia Cup, which is just crazy to think about. So 4th, of course, you automatically get into Group Nirvana. If you are a 3rd, you get to play a couple of series to see if you end up in the Ascend group or the Nirvana group, as 2 of the 3 seeds will make it to Ascend, 2 will make it to Nirvana. And I gotta say, coming into the day, I really felt like, FPX was a favorite, not just for Nirvana, but for, Sayonara till 2026. OMG, I felt pretty confident with them getting out in 3rd and actually being a team that could threaten to make it to Group Ascend. I said at the start of the day that I had them there, and want to see if that's the case, because props to FPX, they showed a couple signs of life in their first game against Top Esports. But it really felt like both FPX and OMG, they picked scaling, and the scaling didn't kick in. They kind of got ran on the map. And the scaling for FPX actually wasn't that good into the extremely tanky Frozen Heart Rush Scion, which kind of dunked them. So, yeah, curious to see what happens in this one, and if any team decides to play fast, play aggressive, and try and beat the other one.
And again, being the difference between 3rd and 4th, very, very
massive.
big, because you have either the opportunity to play into that Ascend bracket if you do well in the best of series against the other 3rd place teams. Who, taking a look around, if you those are all like probably beatable teams to at least get yourself a spot in that Ascend bracket. But then, if you fall down to 4th, all of a sudden you're just a couple of bad series away from having your full season end. And both FPX and OMG showed a couple of signs here, but really look like they are the worst teams compared to Top Esports and NIP. So it seems like it will be a battle towards 3rd, although still a lot more games to be played. And so again, this match will be very interesting, and I agree with you. Like, seeing who decides to change up their play style the most could be fun.
Yeah, we need more. BLG versus Weibo, like, for me, was the most fun game I've seen so far. Quite the banger to have BL. We need more games like that, It's been a little bit slow, a little bit controlled. Of course, it is best of ones. I gotta say, we aren't used to seeing best of ones in the LPL, which I think you astutely brought up earlier, Grapes. And surprising to see, the league that we're used to seeing, where you do play so fast, so furious, and it's okay to drop some games because you can always just win the next one. And the best of series, actually, had these teams playing quite a bit slower today. It's been pretty slow play in these groups with the best of ones. So definitely interesting to see how the format affects the league.
Honestly, feel like it's been kind of that trend the whole season. The lane swaps in split 1 probably attributed to that as well. Also, Baron spawning 5 minutes later. I felt like we got some slow games in the first split as well, but maybe the best of ones adding to that caution a little bit.
I miss lane swaps, man. I get this. It's an unofficial broadcast. I can say that proudly with my chest.
You know,
it was fun.
As the play-by-play caster, maybe not as much in agreement as you. Like,
true.
To analyze.
Lane swaps are an excuse for me to talk more. You're not wrong. Maybe I just say that it's just the ego in me speaking. You know,
just like talking.
No, what I will say is that when swaps are on, a lot more chance are viable, a lot more ways to play are viable, and I think it's fun. I think you have a lot more decisions to make. It's just different than, you know, raw laning. But on the flip side, it has been fun to see some good laning. And I gotta say, curiously enough, Graves, seen a really heavy emphasis on Gwen so far, who did, of course, see some changes in the patch, but she's really been showing her face very early in these drafts, whether it's getting banned in, you know, blue side, and the one game we saw her get through was actually, she was B1. Quite surprising.
And that was played, in the jungle, or sorry, in the top lane as well, by Shanji, who had himself a very, very solid performance, one that we thought maybe was deserving of the MVP in that game. So definitely interesting development as we continue to go throughout the split in terms of that Gwen. But it's going to be the Aurora locked in first. A little bit of a flex pick, but I think Linfeng specifically has shown good performances on this champion. The response for FPX going to be that Vi. Shadow going to have another very easy engage tool that we saw work well for NIP earlier on in the day.
Oh, wow, that's a really early Gnar coming out for Sheer, too. Of course, comfort for him. With the top laning pool being narrowed down rather significantly in this one, just curious to see that locked in so early. Of course, the Aurora showing for OMG, the ability to make that one flexible. We assume it's going to be in the hands of Linfeng. Interested to see if Care actually goes for the Vlad. That's a counter that we saw actually be really big in Fearless draft. The fact that you weren't playing a lot of Vlad and then to Aurora, you have some really positive interactions and a pretty good matchup. So we've seen one Vlad so far in the group. It was played top lane, though, I believe. Just kind of curious to see if we see it again. With Aatrox showing the game, a lot less likely that we do see the Vladimir. But yeah, curious to see what Care goes for.
So top side locked up for OMG. That most likely sends the Aurora towards Linfeng in the mid lane. Let's see what the response is for FPX on the other side. They have a matchup that they like into the Aurora, or if maybe they want to focus their attention elsewhere early on the draft, maybe pick up a support for Jue. Nope, going to be the Ahri locked in. I think this is a champion that has lost a little bit of the priority. It used to be a very, very high prio pick across the entire international landscape, but now getting an opportunity here against the Aurora.
All right, so FPX, I mean, they're showing Vi Ahri. Just get rid of the defensive ADs. Make sure that you can play attack. I think the big thing right now, if they are able to set Aatrox behind, I think that's big. Aatrox, of course, someone where if he's able to play out the fight, he lands those Qs, the sweet spots. We've seen the big heals, the sweet spots be really nice for Aatrox just sustaining his way through a fight, but there is a real ability to one-shot him early on. So I want to see if FAX is able to set him behind in any way, shape, or form with the Gnar and the Aatrox matchup, and then maybe sending the Vi Ahri up top to set him even further behind. I think those are really real options for FPX with what's showing in their draft right now.
So you mentioned defensive ADCs for Starry. Those are two of the big ones right off the bat. The Ezreal with all the dashes and the shifts over, and then you get Xayah and throw out that Featherstorm and dodge a lot of that crowd control. So the the Viality into the Charm combo going to be very, very strong for this mid jungle of FPX. Jue's Nico gets taken away at the end of this second phase, really targeting the support pool here for FPX. And we'll get another look at this new but old bot lane here in Assume and Jue and see what they decide to pick up here in the second phase.
MF would help with the Wombo identity from FPX, but gotta assume that, yeah, Varus and Jhin are both on the board. I'm kind of surprised it's not just a Varus, as Varus is very, very, very strong right now and is usually the priority pick, but interested how we wrap this one up now as OMG, because if they do want to go for Engage for Moham, of course, does have that access to the Rel that I think that Moham is just really, really, really strong on, but of course has other options. But if you go for something like Braum or Alistar, I think potentially get Braum here is very real by FPX. I actually like Braum quite a bit in this draft. I feel like with the Xin jumping into you appeal against the Alistar. You get to try and limit potentially the poke that comes in from Varus too, if you can catch anything with an Unbreakable. You already have Engage with the Viari, so that's usually where Braum's quite nice because he can't really act as main Engage. But instead, speaking of main Engage, it's going to be the Rakan to help support the Gnar Viari that will be wreaking havoc in the front lines. So that wraps up the draft.
I feel like FPX is a very easily identifiable win condition in their team comp, right? It's, team fighting, 5v5, throw out those ultimates, have the wombo combos come out. OMG is a little bit all over the place here, Cubby. I'm not sure really what to take away from this. You have decent damage in the mid and AD carry positions, but I don't know. Is this just another 5v5 team composition as well for team fighting?
I want to see how Starry builds. I'm expecting it to be poke Varus, but if not, then I would like how they scale throughout the game. I think that Viari runs out of gas at some point, so for me, I think Onus is on FPX. I'm curious to look at them a little bit more so early on and see what kind of plays they make, where they go for. And I want to see them try and set this Aatrox behind. If Aatrox is, you set him behind, it can be squishy for the whole game. I think that makes a really big difference with the comp that FPX is showing. If not, if Aatrox is able to function in these fights, can really make life hard for MF to just, feel safe firing out off the R or getting autos off throughout. So definitely something I'm looking out for. I would love to see a game plan for FPX where they really go focus on the top side. I think that with MF plus Rakan showing in the draft, for me, I see that and think that FPX definitely has their mind towards focusing down this Aatrox.
And they'll have a lot of tools to do it, especially in that mid jungle, if they can get Care and Shadow onto the map the right way. Big game again for both of these teams. They do not want to fall to 0-2 in the first stage of the group stage, as well as the fact that this is probably the most winnable matchup for both of these teams against each other. And so, again, that battle for third place becomes very, very important, even if you suspect that Top Esports and NIP are going to be the first ones out of Group C. And we'll see who ends up taking this one here as we head on the rift for game number 3 of the day.
Yeah, you can see there with the win percentage that FPX favored mid. If it goes late, again, Viari kind of runs out of gas throughout the game. Aurora has some really nice ratios that she can rely on, which helps you with damage later on. Gotta say, Ari going for this Electrocute Aatrox build.
Okay.
Little interesting, as Electrocute did see some buffs a couple patches ago. It's pretty hard early on in the course against the Gnar, looking for burstier trades. Does make sense, but no green tree on the Aatrox, so stuff like Overgrowth, Second Wind, or even the increased heals and shields, all stuff pretty abusable by Aatrox as a champion. No access to that, so I'm curious to see how this is going to play a little bit differently as this game goes on for Harry.
Actually leashing Hung to start off this game, which means that he's not too worried about how the early laning phase is going to go, right? Like range versus melee, you don't have that resolve tree. Things might be a little bit tough in terms of the poke early on, but looks like they just want to get Hung accelerated a little bit on clear, as it looks like both junglers starting on that top side of the map. And I guess in the early stages here, Cubby, we see Starry with that Arcane Comet, going to be trying to dish out a lot of that poke damage. We saw the Varus lane work very well for Jackie Love and Top Esports early on, as that's a very early barrier actually procced here by the Varus.
We just buried a double up, man. That's Starry didn't want to take damage from that. Of course, the MF plus Rakan. Rakan does have sustain advantage if you're able to connect with the Qs, which Jouet has been doing an okay job of so far. So yeah, that was maybe it's like one of those, you use it so early, you might get some more uses out of it.
That's true, yeah. If you fight again,
it's a
like
little cooldown.
Might be back up.
For a summoner spell.
Yeah, very, very. I guess it's just to keep the HP high up, as assuming Jouet did hit level 2 first.
It saved him 50 gold. He didn't have to pop a pot.
you know what? That's the small investments that end up paying off in the long run, right?
That's the kind of mind-bending logic that we just might need for FPX versus OMG.
The passive income here for Starry.
Yeah.
You know, now, hey, look, he's full HP with Moham heal now, so maybe the barrier worked out.
Go Alistar, yeah. Big time.
Okay. Anyway, again, battle between these two teams, and that like lost pretty badly in their first games. I think we can admit, right? Like there were moments specifically for FPX that we were like, okay, they want to fight against top esports. Maybe they can do something with the scaling composition. Never ended up really working out, right? And so bouncing back from a game like that, where you pretty much get obliterated. I'm very curious to see how each of these two teams adapt, because you know, we didn't see too much of either of them in the regular season. They both did not make the Split 1 playoffs.
Looks like Shadow's gonna snag his crab a wee bit late. With the push that Linfeng has, might be able to get access to the respawn Raptors. Of course, this camp's quite big. Cares though, Linfeng has not spotted Shadow though.
Invis, but still gets popped out actually here by Shadow. The charm connects. Look at the flash away, but it's going to be followed up by Shadow. First blood going over to FPX, but it'll be traded right back as Hung was there to finish off that kill onto Care.
Still 2 flashes burned for 1 in the end, and a kill goes over to both junglers. Ari is going to be able to get back and I think pick up most, but a bit of an interesting trade early on. I think importantly, Shadow also able to pick up the respawn camp. So overall, I'm going to say worth it here for FPX. Able to play defense and at least able to make sure that Shadow can keep on clearing. As it was well played by Shadow again. He snuck in here, and then Funk should be wiser to this one. And Shadow is able to pretty much guess where the bunny hop went towards. The follow through, I'm not sure if it was 100% necessary. Kara had an auto going, but hey, not bad. And of course, Hung, I'm going to flash, make sure that he cleans up the kill against Kara, who did not flash out of that combo. So overall, I think that play being taken by Shadow and FPX, not bad. Well played by Shadow to find that one, and 1 for 1. Hey, we still got the respawn Raptor camp, right? That's what it all comes down to.
I feel like so many junglers on blue side die on that like red side Raptor in mid. I don't know. I feel like that's like it's a lot of bait. but it looks like it worked out okay for Hung specifically this time around. He's able to pick up at least 1 kill and answer back here for OMG. But we saw a preview of what that Viari combo can look like, Cubby, and it becomes even better once Shadow hits level 6.
Yes, speaking of 6s, Care has netted his. Shadow still working towards it. A big change though right now. FPX, they sent the MF bot. So this tells me they might not want to fight first grubs. Instead, look for the dragon. Vi to shred the dragons with her denting blows. Really nice early on against this objective, but looks like they're just going to be okay with the trade. Starry going to go back bot, and grubs actually not started by OMG. A little bit surprising, as I think FPX okay with the trade, but OMG's not. They want to fight.
Let's see how spicy they want to get here. Moham.
Okay, never mind.
Around here, it looks like instead they're going to go towards the grubs.
Waste of time.
So maybe a more even trade instead of trying to flip the game around this first dragon. It will be picked up easily by Shadow and FPX, while Hung's going to have enough prio to at least take a good chunk of these.
Yeah, a little bit of waste of time there from Hung, but still going to be able to clean up the objective in the end. Just going to be a little bit late. And honestly, it might be late enough where you can see Care. He's hovering towards the top side. Did at least get a word down. Don't think Shadow's going to make his way all the way in. His priority is with Harry in the top side. Did TP back recently for that one. So, yep, Grub's going to be cleaned on up. Traded the first objectives. And the theme of the day, Grapes, has been slow and controlled. And even with our bottom 2 groups or teams in the group, the theme has not changed.
You know, we were talking about how 369 was like copying their opponent's homework. It looks like maybe they learned a little from the LCK as well here in this first round. You know, they won the tournament, so let's try to follow suit there for them. Play out these games a little bit slower. As Vade here for Hung. This might fight. Yes, he will. That's a nice win here for the OMG jungler.
Yeah, well played. The wind becomes lightning. That damage where Shadow was at after the Justice Punch could not match the burst from Hung, who timed up that W and Smite well to snag that away from Shadow. So no red buff. It's a bit on this clear, but again, Grapes, that's the excitement that we're talking about in this one. This is not my LPL. I mean, honestly, this might be just the best propaganda run that we could have possibly thought about for best of 3s and 5s, right? This is actually the real reason why our LPL teams have been hectic. Not because of not because of the fact they're LPL teams that throw down and try and break the game and we play fast, furious. No, it's just the fact that we always play with best ofs.
The corrupt best of one enthusiasts. They want slow games. They want you to fall asleep watching League of Legends. Instead, go with the best of series. More risk.
Just that. I mean, it's neutered the fun. Best of ones. It's got to be.
That's a choice of a term.
I feel like it's accurate.
I guess. I don't know.
Nope, no balls, just Bren.
Makes things less exciting. That's for sure. 9 minutes into this one, 2 kills. I mean, you'll understand the stakes of this matchup, obviously. Double round robin, but again, these are the 2 teams that are expected to be contesting those 3rd and 4th spots in Group C. And before in the pregame, we went over the differences between being that 3rd seed versus being the 4th seed. And even though these teams play again in a few days, I feel like having that extra pressure of the team that ends up 0-3, or if there's a team that ends up 0-3 on the after this first round, is not one that you want to carry into week 2. We always talk about like the 0-3 going into week 2 at like the World Championships. I feel like that very much holds true compared to Worlds Past this time around in this format. I
mean, if you're 0-3 after the first round, that's step 1 towards 6-month sayonara. I don't think that's the siesta that these teams are looking for. That said, Sim going to wish he took a siesta before that wave as Moham
getting on the action. The flash pull on to assume. Cleanses the flashes away, so it looks like enough distance has been generated, and with the Make It Rain, it'll slow OMG's pursuit down. So that's a lot of summoner spells used by Moham specifically, results in a couple more burned on FPX's side.
Well worth it. Moham burns his flash, gets access to a Hex Flash, and takes away 3 summoner spells, including 2 flashes from the FPX bot lane. So I think he'll take that if you're OMG. They also got the first 3 grubs, so this turret looks like it's going to drop 2 plates here to Starry. It's a nice win. Good manipulation of the lanes there by OMG, and good proactive play by Moham. Get something nice done.
The big win. 3 summoner spells burned for 2. You know, we'll take that at this point. That's a win for
Moham's back at home, man. He's playing LCK again.
That's true. Hey, you know what? You're right.
I didn't think of this.
This guy, been a bit around the block. I will say, I remember when he was coming up in the LCK Challenger scene. Like, this guy was really hyped up, and then a couple of disappointing moments on DK, and then now here on OMG. Looks like he wants to try to write that narrative here. He tries to find another engage off of a flank. Still has the Unbreakable available, so FPX don't want to continue that chase. However, OMG already picked up the first 3 Void Grubs, and FPX wants to make sure they don't make it a 6-for-0. So instead, they find the buy engage onto Starry, flash over the wall for Shadow. They try to lock down Linfeng instead, but Shadow just gets one shot. But look at the Gnar ultimate coming out from Sheer off of the teleport and finds 3. And right now, FPX having the numbers advantage. Moham will drop, and now Harry is the target with the World Hender soon to expire. It'll be assumed to pick up that kill as 4 go the way of Fun plus Phoenix.
I gotta say, when Shadow pressed R, I wasn't sure about that angle from FPX. There was no ult yet on Jue, but Sheer made it work with that TP, the Mega Gnar. Great entrance to the fight from him, got access to the backline immediately, and really made sure that fight went heavily in FPX's favor.
And there they go, 1.5 gold lead. They aren't able to finish off that second spawn of the Grubs, but they get at least 1 to make sure not all 6 go over. Here's another look at the fight again. It's just forcing a lot of resources out from OMG before Sheer comes in for the party.
Yeah, again, Shadow, that's a one-way trip, him going in, but Sheer, that entrance, it was fantastic. It got Kara a reset, and Kara plays this fight out really nicely on the Ahri. Found a really nice Q that he repositioned to actually find the kill on Moham behind, and then good charm on the Aatrox to make sure that he fell for free as well. It said back half of the play, we're back out on the Rift with potential action. And Jue gets canceled, and OMG really trying to defend this Dragon take. He will get it for themselves.
Looks like Jue getting canceled there, getting chunked out a little bit, means that OMG OMG were able to pick that one up nicely for themselves. So still, a close-ish game. OMG having some of that major objective control, as now it's going to be Starry getting caught out here by Care. That's a ton of damage on the Ahri. The damage amp from the Charm really coming into play. And it forces Starry to flash away and head right back to base.
Well worth it. I mean, Dragon just fell. Good use of the Archer Charm there. Meanwhile, Flash traded from Harry as...
I guess.
I think that Nara's Flash is more valuable than Aatrox. I think that's okay. Harry going to force that one for himself. Did rush the Shojin, so more Qs, more dashes, and a damage amp on those. You're able to chain them together. Feels good, gotta say. It's definitely a first item that you don't usually see from Aatrox's, because like sometimes, Eclipse feels like you have or Centered Sky feels like you have a bigger first spike, but I do really like the Shojin. I think this item is actually kind of slept on at the moment. The amp and the lower cooldowns really big for Aatrox, so see if Harry can make nice use out of that.
Okay, still a Grub alive. The one survivor. He's seen some horrible things.
Oh, it's been long enough. I feel like I can spoil it. You know what the Grub looks like or reminds me of when he like arches up like that? The like creatures. If anyone has seen Mickey 17, and it reminds me of like those like big creatures from there. There's lack hair, but like the teeth, how it works, it's kind of familiar. If anyone, yeah,
that's on my watch list for sure. Oh, what a nice charm from Care. Finds an Linfeng through the between worlds. The dash forward for one more, but it looks like Linfeng will survive. Meanwhile, a teleport comes in. And it looks like Harry wants to try to make something happen here. Care going to try to pop the teleport, and he will escape safely right back to his inhibitor, and will go right back to base.
And he did kill most of the wave. Not super worth it, but we have a look on Starry.
Oh, Vi ultimate on top of the bullet time as well. Nice engage from Jue. Starry chunk very low, but Hung doing a lot of damage as well with the Crescent Guard. Will pick up the kill onto Shadow to make it a 1-for-1. Moham and Harry now maybe looking for a re-engage. No flash on Assume. Looks like he will get away here from the chains. Make it just the trade of kills. Shadow going down for Starry.
Yeah, I mean, Harry popped the wings and really wanted to make a play, but unfortunately it was a dud. As the execute on the Starry. Hey, we just got the Poke Ferris off the map. Assume stays alive, picks up a kill from that. With MF going for this build, the BT, hard to force out, against the Poke identity, and that will be a DPS advantage later on for FPX, where we do feel like their comp gets outscaled a little bit. Like the Vi Ahri only has so much game time where you're super effective, but hey, at least MF can be a nice... It's a weird game where she actually kind of acts as a safety blanket later on, just being a DPS marksman versus a non-one. So it could be nice for FPX, who again could make some nice steps in this game. Jouet looks to be stuck, but OMG thinks he has help over the wall.
They'd be right. Shadow's right there.
Yeah.
Assumes in the mid lane as well after he picks up that mid wave. Rift Herald has come alive on the top side of the map. It actually was FPX to pick up the second and final grub that was available up there. That was the last one left standing. So
he got to join his friends, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
no grub left behind.
Normally all 6 get taken. So it would have been a weird world for him to have to just go back naturally here. As Assume getting caught out by Hung. Remember, no flash from that earlier play, and so Starry will be able to pick up the shutdown.
Yeah, that's a tough mistake from some. I like just given he's no flash. You're up against a Poke Ferris. You just got to give the wave there. He didn't have the support to walk up and gets instantly capitalized upon by Hong, who burns his flash to get the kill. I think that's well worth it, because guess what? Makes a space for a Rift Herald take, which OMG would love to have for themselves, and looks to be the case with Sim still in the Death Chamber, but Shadow just getting a little bit frisky. Hong still has ult, so if they fully send it on to him, it doesn't mean it's free by any means. But
Sheer just hit Mega, but he's going to have his teleport canceled.
They're down a man. Yeah.
That's a knock-up that Harry was very easily able to execute on. Between Worlds comes out. Linfeng going to try to poke FPX out a little bit. They still have the numbers advantage. Shadow dashed in, but is unable to pick up the steal of the Herald. Now gets hit up by the Chain of Corruption. It should be going down as it's Linfeng picking up the kill. Now, Hung continuing to dash forward. Pops the Crescent Guard to make sure that nothing from range will do any damage to him. Immediately procs down that Rift Herald and tries to keep the pressure up.
I'm just really perplexed as to why we even tried to go for that contest from FPX. Like, you're down your marksman. You have bot outer. There was a dragon spawning. If you actually play for the map, you could have set some of these things up and hope to take it after the Herald play from OMG. But instead, by contesting, I mean, you lose the Herald, you lose the man. And again, we're going to see Sheer hit Mega and try and TP there. But Harry, he was much wiser to it. Stops that. And again, regardless of your TPing to be even, I just don't think that's super worth it. And once that gets canceled, like again, Shadow Justice Punch in afterwards. So even then, like you're opting into a 3v4. It feels really weird and forced for really no reason from FPX. And OMG, they get a little bit of gold back, only down 1k now, and have the chance to play for the Dragon. And the objective was spawning soon after the Herald that FPX could have set up. Instead, again, they decide to contest, they lose, and now they can't trade it out.
And much like that game that they just played before, Cubby, like right after FPX won that one fight, they haven't done much since then.
Yeah.
Currently, they are still up in gold by a little bit, but I think we both agree that the OMG composition with the Aurora and with the Aatrox that can scale relatively nicely into the late game, whereas maybe the damage from the Ahri falls off a little bit more, as now OMG are the ones actually putting the pressure on. They take down that mid-tier 1. Now we're looking for a fight on the bottom side as well. It's Care picking up a tower top lane and assume mid, which means that there is no real damage on FPX's side down here in the bottom side, while OMG have all 5 of their players on the map, the area. Care's hitting the inner and can afford to do so because he has TP up and nothing to base for from the looks of things. So OMG just doing their best. They cleared some good vision away from FPX around this Dragon and actually going to force a TP from Aurora as Care is almost taking care of this turret on his lonesome. Has that at about a 5th HP. So that TP being forced again. OMG, they were posturing for a bot dive, but 3 people were there from FPX, and it feels like they kind of used and wasted that turn because they were never responding to top. So having the TP to contest that just gives away the Dragon for free to FPX, and well, you secure a Cloud Dragon. It's not bad. I feel like it could have been, it's a situation where I feel like you could have gotten one or the other, right? You could either force that fighter on the Dragon early, or, you know, prevented Care from getting like almost the entirety of that tier 2, but it's OMG reacting just a little bit too slowly on a play like that, and it allows for FPX to keep themselves in this thing, get themselves another neutral objective. Sheer is able to get another tower on the bot lane, so that is even more gold kind of funneled into FPX's pockets overall. Things looking pretty solid for them at this point of the game. Mohan, though, maybe finding another pick onto Zhui, cancels the grand entrance with the stun from the E, and will force the Rakan to flash over the wall.
That's a big flash to take. TP coming in, though. Sheer halfway to Mega.
Okay, and here comes Shadow as well. He flashes for the cease and desist onto Starry, who has no more summoner spells, and Sheer will be able to pick him up before he even turns Mega. Now Mega will be able to only land the ultimate onto Mohan while Shadow dies on the wayside. Hong lands a knock up onto Sheer with a 3 talent strike. Bullet time will come out, but gets blocked very nicely by the Crescent card. But Harry's ultimate will time out rather quickly here. Assume still has this flash, and it'll use it to get over the wall and away from the realms of the Aatrox. And so it's just that 1 kill going over to FPX.
Unfortunately, Harry kind of whiffed his first combo, which prevented really any follow-up, which could have been nice for OMG, because for me, like that initial play, yes, you found Starry right off the bat with this Vine R combo, but Sheer failed his hop over the wall. And Shadow was stuck with not even being close to team support. So we're going to take another look at this one. Starry does drop the R, has the E-field, so gets the flash out of Shadow, and then, yeah, it's Sheer. Mini hop into the wall, gets the attack speed buff, which helps at least get through the Varus, but again, Shadow just really stuck in Arnie, and then watch Harry here. Again, I feel like this could have been really big, but Hong uses his Q3, flashes on the Sheer, Harry goes around the wall and just misses onto the priority target, so I think at the top side of OMG is more synced up there. Maybe they're able to follow up and chase and get more, but that desync really hurt them in the end and made sure that it was only a 1-for-1 with now Summoner Spells burned on the Poke Varus. So getting the Varus with the Vi Ahri, a very real scenario for FPX, and would love to see them hunt as Shadow, I think appropriately, tailing Care here and trying to make more plays, take advantage of some of these lower cooldown ultimates that sit on the shoulders of Vi Ahri compared to others. I do like this posturing from FPX.
And also, you know, taking a look around just the KDAs and the scoreboard right now as well. Sheer looking really strong on the Gnar all of a sudden. 2-0 and 3. I feel like he's had a couple of mistakes, like, you know, going for that teleport where it was very easily canceled by Harry. But this is a player, 19 years old, one of the top prospects picked up by JDG like last year, sharing time with, I think it was Flandre back in the day, and now kind of getting his new opportunity on FPX. Like, he's gonna have some growing pains, but this is another player that I think FPX can be happy they have in their system right now, and especially when he has performances like this.
Yeah, definitely someone to look out for. Is a couple of these entrances to the fight with Meganar have been quite big for FPX. I think they've been doing a nice job of at least setting up to time things up with the Meganar and open up opportunities for Sheer to have angles and make plays. So definitely something to look out for in the next couple of fights as FPX continue to posture.
Yeah, I mean, we get the Otacon up right now, but really not many other major objectives to fight for. It seems like Care very happy to be sitting in this side lane throughout this kind of portion of the game, because of the fact that he can get out from a lot of stuff, especially with his flash available. Also has a teleport if he needs to join a fight at any point. And right now, farming up very nicely for himself as well, picking up those 2 completed items, working towards maybe a third now. As we hit another bit of a low point here in this game, Covey. I mean, at what point do you think that this OMG composition maybe starts to take over a little bit more? When do they get that together?
I think it's got to be like 3-4 item Aatrox. I just don't know if he can get bursted down. 16 is going to be big for Harry. But if he gets any sort of reset with his World Ender, we have seen the fights where Kara is able to get some resets and get going, but I think a World Ender reset can make life really hard for FPX again. At this point, I don't even know if they have the burst to actually take down the Aatrox. That's going to be something that is for sure tested around our 4th dragon of the game. There's another Cloud Dragon joining the Rift here soon. OMG doing a nice job of using the Varus to maintain mid-prio and get to play off that vision. Meanwhile, FPX going to utilize the push that Care has that's unmatched in the bot lane to try and play this one around bots. So a very horizontal setup that we have right now with Shadow and Care trying to make inroads behind OMG, but Linfeng going to be able to get in here and at least try and contest this wave and push their own wave up to get some visions.
Nobody really wants to start this dragon up just yet. You see Harry down at about half HP. Sheer has hit Meganar, so it doesn't look like they want to start something up right at this point. So now maybe for OMG, their target could be Care, who again still has that ultimate and the flash, but a lot of members of OMG trying to take this Ahri down. Charm initially lands, and it looks like that is enough for Care to escape. You'll take that in terms of the allocation of resources, especially if you can make a play here on the other side. Harry pops the ultimate, but still will get followed in by Shadow, and one more auto should take him down. That's a nice trade here in terms of a kill going towards FPX, but can they get out with their lives as Linfeng comes in with a teleport? Sheer down about 400 HP, but they will be able to escape with that tier 2 turret going down.
It was close on Sheer. If the Q hit from Linfeng, I think Sheer might fall. That said, didn't happen at OMG. They were pulled off the Dragon. So, honestly, for FPX, they get the play off. They're able to reset on the map, and OMG didn't answer with a neutral of their own. They're going to match the reset. So that's a nice win there for FPX, making the play, taking the inner. Again, when they sacked Kara's ult, I thought that would have been a free Dragon for OMG, but they keep the game moving. They can play topside and get something for themselves. They had Harry a little bit low here against Sheer. It's a nice job of stepping up and continues the trade against Harry, who a little bit disrespectful to Mininar there, and that damage that the Hyperprocs get when you get 13 plus. Well played there from Sheer to find a big trade and set that up for Shadow.
Yeah, so FPX, their gold lead now above 3,000. They're going to pick up another dragon as well. This will be Cloud Soul point for them. This gets secured very good on a lot of the champions in their competition. You know, Vi, the Ahri, and even the Pecan, right? Like just getting a little bit of extra ability haste on those ultimates, getting the movement speed as well. Going to be very, very beneficial for them as things are looking up here for FPX. Remember, 3 out of the 4, you guys put them third, put them last in the group. But right now they're looking pretty good.
Nice reminder there, Grapes.
I get to gloat a little bit, at least for the moment.
Who was the one?
Until they throw. I don't know. Probably some pretty handsome play-by-play caster, I would say.
Yeah, it has impeccable taste. And really hoping that the Yankees are at least end the year better, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's a deserved punch back here.
No, it's fine. Sometimes you just gotta push some buttons where they're appropriate.
Hey, hopefully, FPX do not drop the ball on this game right here. They have themselves a good lead. 4,000 gold, 28 minutes in. Soul point on their side. And on OMG side, they got approaching that third item for Linfeng. I mean, I feel like the Aurora is the primary damage dealer in team fights for this team, and Linfeng's a player that we've been hyping up a little bit for OMG. We think he's one of the more exciting players from the roster, picked up directly from their dev system. He's going to have a big fight, a big game towards the end of this if they want to come out on top.
Yeah, I know it took a little bit to set Harry behind, but now that Sheer is up in this matchup, the side lane is pretty tough for Aatrox at this point. So I think, again, the focus from FPX to make sure that the Aatrox falls behind. And again, this focus is continuing. Shadow's going to look for the point and click. Harry has a World Ender up, but no flash. If Shadow's able to get in here and connect with a Mega Gnar, could be big. Here comes the dive.
I'd be surprised if they're able to burst him down 100 to 0. It just at least forces Harry back. But it looks like the trade on the other side will be OMG starting up his Otacon because Shadow is on the opposite side of the map. It is a 4v3 on the map for now. Sheer is mini-Gnar, so even if he teleports to the fight, will not have his ultimate at the ready. But look at Care. Finds a charm into Linfeng, and already the Aurora is chunked down very low. Bullet time gets cancelled out by Assume, but the damage from FPX might just be enough. It's a double kill in, and the Otacon is secured by Sheer. The Gnar picks it up with an auto attack, but Harry now has popped the World Ender and will try to find a response. Shadow has finally arrived to the fight, and Fun plus Phoenix are going to run away with this team fight as they pick up the Otacon in a full ace.
That is a huge win for FPX as they crack this game wide open, especially with the Baron bound to fall next. And man, again, Otacon, this is an objective that does a lot of damage. The start of this fight, OMG was so low, and I really like how FPX, they knew Otacon was being taken, but down numbers, criticized them early on for contesting an objective they shouldn't. This time around, look at how they preserve their health bars. Let Otacon go to work, and then Kara finds a fantastic chunk onto Linfeng. That's enough to open things up. Full-on flashes to cancel the MF ult, but he's so deep in there that he falls for free, and that's a free reset for Ahri at this point. Sheer miracle that he ends up finding.
It was a flip at that point.
The Otacon. I mean, that was a pure flip. They'll take that one, though, because regardless if the Otacon goes their way or not, that fight was always going to go FPX's way. So love the patience around the Otacon and that take from them. And now, good play continues. They can push. They find Moham, and keep in mind their GA buff is still on, so they can really force the issue against OMG now, even up a member.
And look at Sheer in this game right now as well. 4 completed items, and Care finds another pick onto Hog.
We're going.
He forces the Crescent Guard. We'll be able to escape at least for now, but Harry now the target here for Fun plus Phoenix. Bullet time comes out, it's just onto the Aatrox, but hold on. The damage is pretty good coming out from OMG as well. Care trapped in the base and will get sent back by the revive. But it is 2 kills picked up for FPX with just a couple of those resets coming through for OMG.
Take the 2 real kills, especially before the Clown Dragon. So much control already in FPX's hands in this bot side jungle. Keep in mind, this is a Cloud Soul that could spawn for FPX. Really valuable for a lot of the champs they have. Cloud Soul always been slept on as mini-Gnar. Going to work. Sheer
does so much damage on this Gnar, and he hasn't even procced Mega yet. Yes, now he has it, and uses the ultimate in onto Moham. Will at least just pick up that bottom lane inhibitor. Here comes Care. Oh, what a charm! Onto Linfeng. The Aurora's not able to do anything here in this fight. That's a double kill picked up for the Ahri. Starry the next on the menu, and FPX just shut the damn door onto OMG. They pick up the ace. They will go towards the Nexus after they take down this mid lane inhibitor, and they should be able to close out this game and pick themselves up their first win of the LPL Split 2 group stage.
I mean, slow and steady game until it ended with a bang, and have to give a shout out to Sheer on this Gnar on the top side. Man, he blinded this pick and absolutely went to work up there against OMG. I think clear player of the game here for me. It really started with some mega TPs that he used to set up his team. Had some great angles in that game, and then took over the game in the side lane later on. Start to finish, great performance from Sheer, and a little bit of a surprise here as FPX take down OMG today. Again, FPX Pool 4 team expected to be last in this group by many. But that was a nice resounding win against OMG. Some good direction and some nice plays being made throughout that game. I thought they played out their draft quite well.
And I'm not like, I'm trying to, I don't have the full memory of the entire history of FPX this season specifically, but I think that was Sheer's best game that I've personally seen him play so far in 2025, right? Like this guy had so much promise coming in as like this rookie last year, and you know, now going on to FPX, a bit of a new opportunity for him to really get that full starting spot. Hasn't really, you know, worked out well for his team specifically, but on this game, on the NAR, I think this is probably one where we would agree with the broadcast that he was the MVP, although I will say, you know, Kara had himself a good game on the Ari as well, but just really nice finds in the side lanes and then as well in those team fights for the top laner of Fun Plus Phoenix.
Again, I'm pleasantly surprised by FPX there, and today I thought they showed some direction and a couple okay looks in the first game against Top Esports. It's not like, I mean, once Top got things together, I feel like FPX did go down with a whimper, but they at least were able to win a fight and get a couple leads. But man, that game, I mean, again, talked early about how attacking the Aatrox could be important. Took a while for them to get going with that, but once they did, like the ability for Sheer to take that game over, that's something that we really haven't seen from FPX so far this year. Has been sorely missing as they look for their carry. And I gotta say, with the setup they have and assume bot side, maybe this is like set up for Sheer to just be a little bit of a breakout star here with FPX and have a nice run on a different team this time around. Maybe something to look out for here as the season continues. It was nice from Sheer and FPX.
Yeah, I mean, you think about who on this team like has, you know, the most promise, I guess. You know, you see Kara's been in the league for a while, you know, and things like that. And there we go. Hey, so far things looking good. Hey, okay, we have to wait until the next game. If NIP win, then maybe Cubby, you'll be in a good position as well. Then we can share the glory of being, you know, in good positions here. But FPX getting the win over OMG, a little bit surprising for OMG after how decent that they looked during the, you know, first split overall. Remember, they played that 3-2 against Smoky Prime, a team that is currently 2-1 in their group, over in Group B, but just haven't really gotten any of it together at this point.
That man had a 36% damage percentage on Gnar. That's a pog if I've ever seen one, man. That's absolutely going to work. I do want to give honorable mentions, though, to at least Care. I think after this play, Care really got the best of Linfong in the mid lane. Not what I was expecting heading into this matchup with someone that did favor OMG. So, again, a couple positives you can take away if you are FPX in this scenario. It's really, really nice game from Sheer. They had decent direction in terms of what kind of game plan they wanted to run. And for me, OMG just feel very flat in the two games we've seen them today. And they're going to have to change that against OMG or NIP later on, or Top Esports later on. Third tries a charm.
So yeah, you know, the way this works, a single round robin today, another single round robin in a couple of days, and we close things out. And so, you know, for OMG, they've already, they just have another game left on their schedule. But of course, the big one left up next is going to be Top Esports versus NIP.
Yeah,
we saw this game end up being pretty close, and so, you know, if that's a sign of what's to come, I think that, you know, this is the most anticipated game of the day and should be very exciting.
Again, the double round robin, you get a chance on each side of the matchup, quite literally, to see what you can do. And I think very fair to say with this group that the two extreme heavy favorites go toe-to-toe next. Whereas, frankly, with how like the groups are set up in this stage, I find like games like this quite interesting. I mean, this is a game that we could look back on and have incredible stakes in terms of what matters for the LPL. Keep in mind that if you end up in the bottom group, Group Nirvana, you are at risk of not being a part of Split 3. It is a potential sayonara until Demacia Cup in December or LPL in January of next year. That is pretty dire for any org that actually finds themselves in Group Nirvana. And this could easily be a game where, you know, if FPX might be actually competing for one of the 3 seeds that get to move up into the top group, and we could look back on this as being like, hey, this is a big turning point, big game for FPX. So stakes again really high, especially if you aren't looking to get out of the group, because you want to dodge group nirvana at all costs. Losing a chance to play in split 3 and compete for worlds that's dire for any of these orgs.
Yeah, and you mentioned in terms of teams that we could have expected it to be, FPX could have been one of those top candidates, but grabbing that win going to be very, very helpful for them as we go throughout the rest of this placement stage. Sheer finally got one.
That's an easy one.
The obvious player of the game.
You say that Sheer finally got one. It's actually me finally getting one. I actually got this one right. It was so easy. I couldn't get this one wrong.
Start off with this play, right?
Yeah, I mean, swinging Mega Gnar like that into a bullet time that was canceled from Moham is still quite good. Very winning fight for FPX. And able to group up early on like that, able to open up your own leads in the side lane later on with how strong the mini Gnar was doing. Again, 36% damage share as Gnar. Quite impressive from the top laner there. So props to Sheer. He blind picked that one for himself and played damn well. So good to see.
Well, that's going to do it here for this game. Fun plus Phoenix getting the win over OMG, moving up to 1-1 so far in this placement group stage. And as we go over to our next game, that'll be all for me. We're going to say hello to Rafa as he will be picking it up for the last 3 games. It's a pleasure to kick off this day with you, Cubby, and best of luck the rest of the way. We'll be right back with Top Esports versus NIP right after this.
Told my boss that I'm done. Had no luck with my mom. Say, what will you do with your life? You know it's hard to survive. A cigar in my mouth. Maybe guilty but proud. Now I'm an outlaw on the run. Dangerous but it's so fun. Running, running low. Hold on, don't let go. Running, running low. Keep running low.
back, ladies and gentlemen. I have come in and filling in for the rest of the evening for the LPL English broadcast. Everyone, 07 The Grapes, thank you so much for casting the first 3 best of ones on the day. But now we're going to get a little Rafa Cubby, Kafa? Rubby?
Coffee?
Coffee.
Support the coffee? Yeah?
Yeah, you know what? We always support the coffee, which is, why I already am set up for here.
Oh, nice.
Little throwback to one of the earlier gigs that me and Cubby worked. Thank you, T1. Anyway, NIP, Top Esports. This is the banger that we were all looking forward to today in this particular group. Not only you have Top Esports, the reigning LPL champion after winning the first split and going and representing us at first stand. We have NIP, who not only won their respective group back in Split 1, but also was a heavy favorite going into the playoff bracket before they kind of crumpled, back-to-back best of 5 losses. And the second best of 5 loss was handed to them by none other than Top Esports here.
Yeah, Top Esports eliminated them from playoffs, and it's funny because this match is a little bit of redemption opportunity for both teams. As of course, you highlighted Rafa. NIP, they were a favorite. It was a Join B MVP, Split 1 in the LPL. PP God was playing pretty well. I thought Aki was playing really well, and they went in the playoffs and played a close series against Anyone's Legend and kind of bombed out against Top Esports. So yeah, that was a bit of a bummer to see if you were an NIP fan, but an opportunity now for them to get revenge against the team that knocked them out of playoffs. And of course, for Top Esports, the hardest opponent that they have in their group as they look for redemption after a rather abysmal showing representing LPL at first stand.
Yeah, I think the entire LPL community was very disappointed in what we got out of our first international tournament and our representatives from the LPL. And it's time to go over some tape. And it's not going to be just good tape. It's going to be some lowlights as well, because we just have to put the facts out there and show, what was happening with some of our players representing us on the international stage.
On the bright side, though, if you are a Top fan, that Scion build was actually stolen by 369 earlier. So they did learn something off that trip. But yeah, I mean, for Top, it just felt like they were playing these comps where, if you're playing stuff like MF, like you have to play fast. And if you don't, and you fall behind against the best teams in the world, it's hard. And there were so many games at first stand where, like, 3, 5, 10 minutes into the game, Top is just behind. And then they're not cohesively playing well. Like, their comps seem to function from ahead, and they just don't. So it was a real struggle for Top. I felt like Jackula was really focused. Kanavi definitely struggled at the tournament. Like, if I had to put one person, or like put my thumb on one person that struggled, it was Kanavi. But it didn't help that the bot lane was focused so heavily that oftentimes they were taken out of the game. And Jackula and Chris just didn't respect the opportunity for that. So it was definitely a game plan of attack that many teams brought in Top Esports, and it's what led to their rather disappointing exit when you go down to APAC team like that. It's just not great.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much every team other than Team Liquid, Kanavi was not really present, or at least playing at what we know this guy is capable of playing based on the many years he's been at one of the top junglers in the LPL, and even going to international. We keep bringing up the 2023 JDG run where Kanavi was legitimately one of the best junglers in the entire world, to then pretty much bomb out against every other jungler other than Umti on Team Liquid, and put Team Liquid in the dirt. That was like the one redeeming factor that Top Esports were able to walk away with from the first stand. But on the flip side, Ninjas in Pajamas, you have to put a little bit of another microscope on them as well, because as you called out, a lot of the strengths that they showed in their group stage play really faltered when it came to playing, particularly against Top Esports. But this is why this is an opportunity for revenge. A best of one, maybe that's the momentum you need to erase the results of the best of 5 loss in Split 1. You get to move on forward with a huge lead in this one.
Of course, this is a